Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is Tuesday, December 2nd. Um, so I made about at least 2 hours of content yesterday for this video. I haven't put it all together yet. And I might add some more comments. I already answered some comments, or, whatever it was I do here. But what this video is about is Trump's administration's childish lack of accountability on bombing these so-called narco-terrorists and throwing a military person, an admiral, under the bus, Trump's bus, his inability to take any kind of accountability. And the story was just growing, and it's, the Republicans are in on it. It's not just a Democratic kind of, opposition to Trump's, like, just doing Trump stuff, like Trump being Trump. And it's kind of hilarious the way it all kind of has unfolded. And then last night, Candace Owens dropped a video about how, I've been talking about how she's made herself the center of the story. And this thing with the French government assassination attempt on her that sounds so ridiculous, and, the whole thing. So I made, I think, 2 video clips where I'm just mocking that whole ridiculous story with her, it's kind of funny. I think it's funny. So I'm going to play that first so it doesn't get in the way of the flow of everything else, the Candace Owens thing, and then we'll get into the Trump stuff. But, it's clearly fallen apart. Like everything is falling apart. There's just, it's chaos. Like, this is the year of chaos, and it's, imploding right in front of us. So let's get into the Candace Owens stuff first, and then we'll get into the Trump thing. And there's an RFK Jr. Somebody sent me a tweet that a message that RFK Jr. sent his reporter lover during the campaign. That's so weird, and it actually plays into this lack of accountability and just the immorality of our times. That everything's falling apart. There's no ethics. There's no code of conduct. There's no accountability. There's none of these things. So let's get into it here. Let's it's a lot of stuff. So let's get into it. Okay. So it's Monday, December 1st, 9:16 p.m. I just did the 9 p.m. prayer that I do every night for 15 minutes, praying that all my brothers and sisters throughout the world are filled with love and devotion, and real faith is growing stronger in them. The idea is praying that the people come to spirituality. Okay, so I had already turned off my computer. Once I turn it off, it's like I almost never turn it back on. And I'm in the middle of this video, which I don't know where I'm going to stick this particular clip of one Candace J. Owens, who is going all in on this idea that the French Prime Minister and his man boy are assassinating her. And, I have this kind of Valley Girl voice I do occasionally. I used to do it a lot for the Kardashians. And it's appropriate to bust it back out. It comes and goes whether I can do it or not. Sometimes I can do it. Sometimes I think I can do it tonight. So I'm going to, I want to get this way. I want to strike while the iron's hot here.
Get comfortable, you guys, because it is going to be a long week. I have so many explosive revelations to share.
So many explosive revelations. It's me, Candace Owens. And so, all right, let's get into it here.
With you, revelations to share with you. And
I don't have many voices that I could do, right? Mocking voices. I mean, I should be better at than I am. And I'm not even good at this one, but which kind of makes it all the more funnier to me, at least.
Now, it feels especially urgent, right? Don't you feel a sense of urgency right now?
Don't you feel a sense of urgency now that it's about me and the story's turned about me, Candace J. Owens? Now that it's Candace, then it's me, whatever, Candace. Now that the story that I'm the center of the story, isn't it more urgent right now because it's the French government and they're trying to assassinate me? I mean, isn't it a little bit more urgent for you guys since it's about me and no longer it's about Charlie Kirk and no one gives a shit about Erika?
In the wake of me having learned that France apparently paid for my assassination.
France was trying to assassinate me? And you guys, can you fucking believe it, you guys? That whole the whole country was trying to assassinate little old me, Candace Owens. Candace Owens, that I was assassinated? I don't know. What's happening?
And
It's not really the whole, it's kind of a mix of the Valley and something else that I used to do for somebody.
the French Foreign Legion was apparently involved in
The French Foreign Legion with the valves, with the French thing, the government, and these planes from Egypt were involved. From Egypt, they were coming in. Was trying to little me, Candace Owens. That I'm the center of the story. I'm the princess. Everyone's trying to murder the princess. It's me, Candace Owens, and I'm the princess. And they have to bring in planes from Egypt. And there's Israelis and all these other people on there on board. It's more of like a South Park voice. And me, Candace Owens, I'm the center of it. There's a blue plane and a yellow plane and a blue fish and a red fish and a one fish and a two fish. And they're all coming over here and trying to murder me, Candace Owens. No one gives a shit about Charlie Kirk anymore because it was about me, Candace Owens, the princess in the story.
ground at UVU on the day of Charlie Kirk's assassination. And we should probably begin there.
The French Foreign Legion were there at Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk when they were trying to assassinate him because they were really trying to get to me. And nobody's trying to assassinate Erika because Erika's the bitch. And Erika she's not a princess like me. I'm the princess. Like I wear the tiara. And if she don't have a tiara, she just comes out with a big crying and her tears and a Kleenex in her eyes and things like that. But me, Erika J. Kirk, the Candace J. Owens is so much better than Erika J. Kirk.
Post if you were one of the people online who believed for a single second that it was even a remote possibility that I simply made up a French assassination attempt.
Like, who would do that? You think I would say that's crazy? That I would make myself such a big person and character in the world of politics? That I would just say that the French government would try to assassinate me, Candace J. Owens, the princess?
Into Thanksgiving week, I don't know, for like attention or something, I sat around and I said, I'm just not getting enough attention. How can
And I mean, me, Candace Owens, how can I get more attention than Erika J. Kirk? No one watches her videos and goes to TPUS gay anymore. They just always come over here to see Miss Candace Owens, the star of the show, the princess.
Start a global conversation about me? And then I came up with this idea of creating fan fiction where I imagined myself as the victim of a multinational state plot to murder me. Yeah, if you
to me or me. Did you hear me? I said me like 5 times there. It's about me. Like right now, it's about me, and it's about me, and you know what else it's about? It's about me, and you know what else? Me, and something else. It's me. It's about me.
that for a single second, that it was for funsies.
It was just for funsies. Like, why would I do that for funsies? I'm saying whatever. I get enough attention. I get the number one blog. I get the number one podcast. It's everyone's watching me. I get millions of views. I don't need any more attention. What are you guys even thinking about? They were trying to murder me. Look at the French government, but they were trying to murder me.
Not busy or anything, then you're just not sober. You're not paying attention.
You're not sober. You're crazy. You're drunk. You're a big drunker. You've been drinking that alcohol. And you would, I guess, you think that I would make up as an outlandish story about Candace J. Owens being murdered by the French government, the French Foreign Legion, and Israel, and Egypt, and Australia, and Japanese, and Portuguese.
Anything, and you need to wake up real fast.
You need to wake up real fast. You're sleeping with your drunk selves drinking to think that Candace J. Owens would make up such a story. It's not a story. I don't know a story.
Move quickly through a lot of things this week because everyone in the world needs to wake up to how things actually work.
See how the fiction works. That I'm the princess, and everybody wants to get me and murder me, and they all trying to murder me. All these big countries, they're like, "Oh, we got to murder her. She's too much of a truther. She's telling too much truth, and so we better bust out 4 foreign planes and the French Foreign Legion and Israel and Portuguese and Martians, and we got to come in there and we got to murder her. We got to murder the crap out of her." And like, I'm just a little person with I got a little 22 handgun in my purse, and I don't even have a bulletproof vest, and they're trying to murder me. Like, they're all trying to murder the princess.
LOL to the idea of Western democracy. LOL to the idea that you can win in life and that everything's basically you've set the stage for a meritocracy and you can get ahead. No, actually, as you learn things, you become a target.
You become a target. You start winning, you start talking the truth, and you tell the truth, and all of a sudden the French government might try to murder you. Why did I murder you, French government? Why did you murder me? What did I do? What did I do to the French government?
Target to people that operate in the shadows, and
the shadow operators. The shadow operators. They come in and they come in on Egyptian planes and they fly into Utah and they try to murder me from Utah, even though I'm in Tennessee. I'm in Tennessee. The princess is in Tennessee and they're in Utah. How are they gonna murder me? They're in the wrong state. They're not in the right time zone.
I think what we are all learning in the wake of the last couple of months, especially. Now,
okay, so you can see why I had to turn my computer back on. So here's the problem with this, right? And I said this before. You know, you have a responsibility not to break the system. Well, let's go further here. There's some point here I want to.
Going back to November 25th, I obviously tweeted exactly what I was informed. Okay, I'm going to read that tweet to you in its entirety. Urgent. 2 days ago, I was contacted by a high-ranking employee of the French government.
I was the high-ranking employee? The guy, I mean, I know for sure he works for the French government because he told me so. He said, I'm a hello, Candace Day Owens. This is Pierre. This is not my real name, but I'm going to say Pierre because I got to be anonymous. But, you know, my name's Pierre, and I work for the French government. I'm a high-ranking official, and I got some urgent news for you. I know you're kind of the princess in the story, and I don't want to see the princess get murdered. So guess what? They were trying to murder you. Yes, they were. No, they were fucking trying to murder you. They were trying to murder you.
After determining this person's position and proximity to the French couple, I have deemed the information that they gave me to be credible enough to share publicly in the event that something happens.
Boom. It was incredible. I said, hey, this person's pretty credible. I'm going to unleash this information from this guy named Pierre.
Short, this person claims the Macrons have executed upon and paid for my assassination.
They're paid for it out of their own personal finances.
Yes, you read that correctly. More specifically, that the green light was given to a small team in the National Gendarmerie Intervention Group.
Boom. The small team that came over, they need a whole team because I can kick ass. I know I only weigh like 120 pounds and I'm like 5'4", and I'm not the most physically gifted of athletes, but and I only have a .22 pistol in my purse. But, and I have no real military training or martial arts training. But they need a whole fucking team to come and get little old me, Candace Owens, even though I don't have much of the security. And really, I don't have anything at all that would prevent, a single assassin with professional skills coming from killing me. But, they've had to send a team. And they sent that team to Utah to kill Charlie Kirk. And they missed me, the princess, Candace Owens.
I am told there is one Israeli that is on the assassination squad.
Israelis, and there's somebody from Portuguese, and there's someone from Tel Aviv, and there's other places around the world, like Timbuktu. There's somebody. There's a person from Alabama for some reason.
That plans were formalized. Again, this person provided concrete proof that they are well placed within the French government apparatus. Further to this point, this person claims that Charlie Kirk's assassin trained with the French Legion 13th Brigade with multi-state involvement.
Boom, the 13th Brigade. They're trained by professionals. They have professional training, and they can come after me, Candace Owens, and it's because I'm the princess, and they might kill me because I'm the star of the show.
Xavier Poussard's life is also at risk. This is deadly serious. The head of state of France apparently wants us both dead and has authorized professional units to carry this out. I ask that every person retweet and share this.
You guys retweet it and share it for everybody for my safety. So you guys do this. The more tweets I get, the more protection I get. Because if everyone retweets this and I get killed, everyone's going to know it's those Macrons and they were trying to kill me.
I do not know who in the American government can be trusted since this source claims that our leaders are aware.
No way that our leaders knew about it the whole fucking time. That Trump and his crew of big old meaners were coming in there and they were like, hey, we want to go murder Candace Owens. We're French government. Can we come into your country and murder her? And they said, okay.
But I have more specific information, which is definitively verifiable, should they care to reach out to me. And to the brave official in France who did this because they were so moved by the evil of Charlie's public execution to risk their own life, may God bless you truly. Let
all be revealed.
Now,
44 million views.
Now, I got even more specific, right? I said there was a paper trail that Macron allegedly paid $1.5 million. And I am saying allegedly because until I can physically see with my own eyes.
Because I don't really know about it. It's just an idea by some anonymous source that contacted me and said, guess what? My name is Pierre, and I want to tell you about something to do with you. They're trying to get you, Candace.
Side of these accounts and verify the transfer of that payment. It's, of course, alleged.
It's only alleged. It's pretty alleged. It's alleged.
The amount is alleged. 2 assassins were hired, one Israeli, one French-Canadian woman.
One French-Canadian woman and somebody Israeli of the sex I don't know.
Okay, a man and a woman. And I also said that the money ran through the elite gentleman Club des Cent. And I was very specific. And I asserted that the French Foreign Legion, which was a legion and a group that I had never heard about prior to this notification, were involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Boom. The Charlie Kirk, they tried to get him and me. It's about me the whole time. That I've been at the center of this plot. It was never about Charlie. It was certainly never about Erika. No one gives about Erika. No French leaders reaching out to Erika and saying, Erika, guess what, Erika? Someone tried to kill you, Erika. You know, no one's doing that. Erika's not the princess. I'm the princess.
Don't follow military stuff. So me even mentioning specific gendarmerie.
Gendarmerie.
Have to assume that I got this information from somebody. Now, if you
have to assume that. You just go ahead, assume. You know what happens when you assume? You're almost always correct.
In fact, currently at this moment, the first man of France, that would be Brigitte Macron.
Brigitte Macron, right here, the first man of France. You know, remember, you guys, I proved that Brigitte Macron had a penis and that her husband, the other Macron, he had a penis too, and they would take off their clothes and they would do things with their penises and their bottoms, and they would do these things in the bedroom, and I proved it without a shadow of a doubt that she had a penis, and she looks like E.T. because she's really ugly, and she's not a princess like me, and she got very jealous because, you know, she's got a penis, and she's not a princess, and she didn't like that I was saying all these words, and she said to her husband, you got to go murder her, that's the only thing you can do. You can go murder the princess? Because I'm a princess of me, Candace Owens. They have to make me. What about me, Candace Owens? They can't let her say that.
You are currently suing a podcaster in America named Candace Owens.
Candace Owens. Candace Owens. You're trying to sue Candace Owens. Who's that? I don't know. It's me, Candace Owens.
For defamation, for telling the truth, right? And the story that you are trying to sell to the public is that you were really deep down in your heart, you really believe that you are a woman and Candace is just crazy. And
because this is crazy, because deep down you have a woman, even though you have a penis, you still think you're a woman. Deep down you're like, I'm a woman. And yeah, I know I have a penis, but you know, it doesn't matter.
Desperate for clicks and willing to defame you for money. Then Candace Owens publicly...
Candace Owens, me, that's Candace Owens, the princess. I am the princess and I am Candace Owens.
Claiming and accusing you of something directly implicated in her assassination, a claim which has gone viral. When I say viral, I mean just the tweet alone.
Just the tweet alone.
Over 100,000 retweets and 45 million impressions on X alone.
And on X alone, who knows where else it is? I mean, it could be in like bottles. Like people printed it out and put it in a bottle and sent it to Gilligan's Island and Marianne and the skipper and Gilligan and the professor did I say Marianne? Marianne's not the princess, but she's Marianne. I'm the princess, and they're reading about this right now.
This would be your unique opportunity as the French first man to prove your case about Candace to the public, right? In the court of public opinion.
Would that make sense? I'm being so logical right now. Like I'm just laying down the logic. Like I got this guy and he showed up and he said, "Get Candace. They're trying to murder you for $1.5 million. And there's an assassin and there's a woman, like a real woman with doesn't have a penis, who's from French. She's from Canadian, and she's also French. She speaks French, but she's from Canadian, and she's not Egyptian, but she's on Egyptian plane, and the Israeli person who I don't know what kind of sex they are because they were Israeli and they're very secretive. We don't even know. We don't even know if they still have a foreskin because they do that over there. And so they're trying to murder me. Candace Owens.
This would be your time to slam dunk. Remember, the French couple has been so psychotically obsessed with trying to paint me as conflicted in my reporting that they even hired a private investigator to try to see if I was colluding with other state actors. They
They tried to do that. This guy, Ariel Zibler is a reporter, and he works for the New York Post, and he broke the story. And it was unbelievable that they were doing this for little old me. I mean, everybody cares about me, and they're always talking about me, and they want to be about me, and I'm the center of attention, and they're trying to murder me, and they're mad at me, and everybody hates me, but all you guys love me, and I'm the center. Everyone's clicking on my tweet, and I get the most clicks.
Gloriously insinuated that I might be working with Russia. They paid for that. They paid for that investment.
So let's just break this down. So, I said this before. Like, there's stories that would pretty much be the end of civilization as we now know it. And I don't know where I'm going to put this in. I'm probably going to put this in the beginning of the video because I have a whole thing that I'm going to talk about in terms of Trump and, this Venezuela thing and Pete Hegseth. And he's turned out to be such a, he just gets more and more of a piece of shit, all of them. Right? I mean, it's really bad. But, if they were trying to kill her, this botched job, right? And again, she's inserted herself in the story, which is problematic. When you become the center of the story, like Charlie Kirk part is done. Like no one gives a shit about Charlie Kirk. Right now it's all about Candace Owens. And Charlie Kirk tied together, they're the murder buddies, right? They were murdered by the French Foreign Legion, Charlie Kirk was. And Candace Owens was supposed to go along with it. So, it's not that hard to kill a person. And it's not that hard for them to suicide somebody. And, when they did the fake Trump assassination, they had to do a thing with the ear because the blood on the ear signified like it was real. Like it made it real. It's like WWE. Like you see blood. Like, the WWE is fake, but they're like, well, they're bleeding. It makes it real. Blood in movies and things, gore, and, it has a shock value. Now, if somebody tried to kill Trump, like this thing that happened on the golf course, who gives a shit about that story? Some guy on a golf course with a rifle tried to kill Trump. And, it enhanced the first story, but it wasn't enough by itself, right? And so, what's the big assassination that we know about that really popped? It's JFK. Bobby Kennedy was also done in public, right? A public event where people can see it and there's cameras. And the JFK, they caught it on camera. You see his fucking brains blown out all over the fucking place. His wife crawling out of the car, right? Like she's crawling out of the car. Her husband's brains are all over her fucking lap. And it was a shock value. It fucked people up, right? Like people were traumatized across the country seeing that, right? It was a fucking huge event. And so, the power of seeing an assassination that happens right in front of you, they could have killed Charlie Kirk, and I wouldn't even be covering this. They could have killed him at his home, right? Something like that, but they did it at an event, one of his famous events, and they did it publicly for a fucking reason, right? To whatever truth there is, whether it's fake or not. People speculate he was a hologram, all these things, but whatever it was done in public. and we saw blood gushing out of his fucking neck, right? It looked real. It looked a lot realer than Trump's, and it was shock value. And the story stuck, and now, someone like me who never even, I heard his name before, but I never seen him. Never knew what he was about. I never heard of TPUSK. I barely knew anything about him, right? And, I cover this kind of stuff all the time. And now with his crazy wife and this whole thing, now it's like a big part of my show for this period of time, right? And, all these other people who are fans of his, and, people who are Christian around the world, and, Candace Owen fan, all these people. Like, it's a huge story, and it was because they did it right in the fucking public in front of everybody, right? But they don't have to do that. If they just want to get rid of you, like you're a nuisance, they're not trying to send a message. They're not saying, hey, if we give you 200 million shekels, you better fucking kiss our ass and read the scripted lines and talking points that we give you. Like they were trying to send a message that way, like Israel was. Or whatever reason it was done in public. There's people who know it was. People who are in the, people in the inner circle, people who are, part of the government. There's reporters, there's people who know this is, they won't tell you, they won't talk about it. But they know who it is, right? And they know the message that's being sent, right? It's not a message for us. It's a message, maybe a little bit for us, right? But you take Candace Owens, like she lives in Tennessee, right, someplace, with her husband. Maybe she has a security guard or two or something like that, security system. And you don't think the government could kill him with the, approval or the cooperation of Trump and the FBI and the American government? They couldn't just kill her or just, I don't know, shoot her up with fentanyl and say she overdosed. And they would be like, no way she overdosed, just like with Jeffrey Epstein. And who would give a shit, right? And it wouldn't be on the Macrones. Like, they could just do it effectively. But you can't do it and fail. And you can't, why would you need to hire somebody, the Macrones? They could just say to Trump, can you guys take care of her, right? For us. Like, people get killed all the fucking time. It's easier to murder people than somebody like this. And so you can't do it and then get caught and then leave a paper trail and then have Egyptian planes, a red one and a blue one, and foreign planes with fucking French Foreign Legion and foreign hitmen coming to America and killing an American citizen. And you have all these people who are now tweeting and retweeting and believing it, right? It's a fucking PR disaster. Does it make it look any less like Brigitte Macron doesn't have a penis? Of course, it makes it look like she does have one, right? Like now it makes it, everything, it makes it look worse. And Trump is now a part of it and all these things. And there's lots of people who believe her. And, if this were to be true, it would be, game over. It would mean that there's like no, Trump isn't protecting somebody. Was it one of his staunch supporters? He was allowing the French couple, fucking, a couple of dudes kill this reporter. It's like fucking, it's like game over. Like it would destroy America's faith. I mean, the right wing and the Republicans and then all stuff with Charlie Kirk and all this shit would come toppling down, right? Like you can't do it this sloppily. You don't need fucking the French Foreign Legion. You don't need Egyptian planes. There's assets here in America. There's snipers here in America. There's some of the best snipers in the world. They're trained by American governments, American military, and then there are private people that do shit like this, right? They come back from the war, and any number of people. Like you can just pay a singular person to go over a house and frame it and do it any way possible without it fucking causing more bad publicity. So it's a ridiculous story, right? And if it turns out to be true, then they are pushing this out there. Like this is, Candace Owens is a part of this thing. She's, she's part of the inner circle. She's friends with Trump. She has Trump's number. She could call Trump. Like she talked to him. Like these people are, they're connected. Tucker Carlson, all these people. They're shills. She took shekels for years. She's been on the wrong side of a lot of these things. And she's, part of it. But now she's the belle of the ball. Like Charlie Kirk, she's taken that story and made it about fucking her. And that not only they were trying to kill her, and remember she's been, dropping hints about this forever. Like she said, Charlie Kirk was about to tell him, and these people were saying around Charlie Kirk that, like they were Like, well, that one guy, Andrew Kolovitz, said that she was on a list, and like, there's all these things about her being assassinated. And Charlie was worried about that Israel's going to try to kill him, and this thing, and then that it was about her and Tucker Carlson, and they took out Charlie Kirk, but they really after them and all that shit, right? Like, what? They couldn't get them? Of course they could. It's silly. We couldn't. We weren't home, so we went to Utah and then we whacked Charlie. Like, it's just fucking stupid shit, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's not plausible. It sounds crazy because it is crazy. And she says she has superficial information from an anonymous source that looks like it could be something, and she just needs some validation verification from the White House, who's involved in some way, right? And so, like, it's just silly. And again, now she's the center of the fucking story, and all the things she said about making herself get clicks and do all this stuff. She's the belle of the ball. She's the princess in this story. She's the protagonist that they can't kill, right? Charlie's one of the expendables. Like, he's not, and Erika is like his crazy wife, like. And she's the one that's in the center of the thing, right? She's getting all the views and all the tweets and all the retweets and
investigation. So using that logic, wouldn't this be the opportunity, if you're the French couple, to come out and to prove your point, to make a stunning and a swift statement, right? We are shocked by the accusation. Of course, never in a million years. Oh, we told you guys, this is just for clicks. It's for money.
we were shocked by the we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that. Candace Owen. Why are we going to kill her? Why would we kill Candace Owen? Whatever. I lost the whole thing with South.
Is beyond anything we've ever heard. I hope Candace gets well soon. That would be...
She's just crazy, and that Candace Owen is crazy, and like, why would you think we both have penises? And we don't have both. We don't have penises.
What I would say you should do, if I'm advising you from a PR standpoint, right? In American basketball terms, this is like a flagrant foul, and you now get some free throws, right? If you're the French couple, you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, investigative fees, and PR
fees, and late fees. So if you blockbuster videos, and just to kill me, Candace Owen, the princess. So, you get the fucking idea here. Like, it's just, she's made herself the center of the story. And, like, the way that she piecemealed this thing out, like, she's leaving breadcrumbs for her, like, fucking people and again, nobody believes in the official story of Charlie Kirk. And she has, said things that turned out to be true. Like, it isn't like she's just putting out, like, all bullshit, right? And millions upon millions of people now believe the French government tried to kill her. It makes no fucking sense at all. Not that they're not killers, and not that they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't be this fucking incompetent unless they want to take down fucking governments and systems, which, of course, at some point they do. Like, they have to. So, like, this would, destroy the credibility of all these governments, right? It would make all these countries look like villains, because it would mean that they all were complicit in killing Charlie Kirk. That would be America, that would be France, that would be Israel, that would be Egypt, right? So multiple countries got together to kill Charlie Kirk publicly, and then we're trying to kill her. And then that would make all of those people that are involved with this look like fucking horrible, murderous people and incompetent fucking boobs, right? And it would make her like this great hero and like truth teller, and she's just trying to bust the story like she's Lois Lane, trying to get the scoop, the big scoop, and she gets the scoop about their penises. And so, this whole thing, like, it's just fucking, and it just never goes anywhere, right? Like, this is like Alex Jones territory, right? There's a Glenn Beck stuff where they just keep on going further down the rabbit hole. It never has any end in sight, and it just sucks people in. Oh my God, did you hear about Candace? Yeah, they're trying to kill her. She's the princess, and she's the protagonist, and the French government, and the Philippines, and what did I say? The Portuguese. They were, and so, all right. So you guys get the idea. Like, she's inserted herself into the story, which is, funny, but, now it's just gone. It's lost all credibility, right? She's lost all credibility. Not that this couldn't be true. It's just, if it were true, that means everything's imploded, right? This means everything's like gone so south that they're not even, I mean, just do it. Like, do it in an effective way, right? You can't kill one fucking American citizen. You can't kill a 120-pound, 5'4" girl that lives in Tennessee, right? Anyways, okay, watch her face here as she drops this point.
Right? If you're the French couple, you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, investigative fees, and PR fees in a country on the other side of the Atlantic, trying desperately to paint me as a lunatic, and I give you the opportunity to spike the ball to prove that I'm a lunatic, and you don't do it?
Look at her face. You don't do it? Do it? See how truthful I am? See how logical I am?
No, they didn't do it, did they? If you're paying attention.
They didn't do it.
They did not do it. Of course, they send out the people on Twitter who get to come out and say, oh, I think she's crazy. I think she's making it up. They do this. We are always doing this every week. Oh, Trump never called her about Brigitte Macron. She's making that up.
Okay, but all she has here, right, is some person that says they work in the French government, which could be somebody posing. It could be any number of people. Some high-ranking official, or it could be an actual high-ranking official that calls her that's doing this to set her up, right? Like, it's an anonymous source with some, whatever it is. Anybody can write some shit on a piece of paper. Hey, look, here's the money, here's the stuff, all the whatever it is. And say this is what it is, right? And so that's all she has. She doesn't have, like, some confession from them or video or, even that. All they could be deep fake. So she doesn't have real proof, right? And she's never going to have real proof. She might have a little thing, here's my proof, here's my this, here's my that, right? You don't know it. There's you guys remember Randy Quaid? He said that they just took his house. They just took his house and his fucking money. He was in a bunch of movies, and him and his wife were like going around. They had to move to Canada, the Pacific Northwest, and he was making these videos. Like he put a Rupert Murdoch's face on his wife and pretended to anally rape Rupert Murdoch. Like, he got crazy, right? You guys don't remember that. If it's a long time ago, if you guys were there for that. But Randy Quaid was going on saying his brother, Dennis Quaid, was, they all turned on him and they just took all his stuff. Some guy just moved into his house, took it all. And he came out and he had all this paperwork that he was showing you and doing it. But, it doesn't mean, look at here, this and this, that, it's proof. And, if anybody can hold up a piece of paper and tell you a bunch of fucking shit on it that you can't understand, and they can try to explain something to you. It's like a map that you can't read, and then when they tell you about it, it's written in a foreign language, and then they translate it for you. And it could be true, but, like, it doesn't matter. No one's going to fucking believe it, and even if they do, what are they going to do about it? Like, as you, Randy Quaid, couldn't stop these Hollywood fucking, Illuminati people from stealing your house, how the fuck am I going to help you out, right? What am I going to do? And so, this is where they're into this.
For attention. Oh, she's lying. Charlie Kirk never changed his mind about Israel. She's making that up for attention. This is what we do every week, right? We're hamsters on a wheel. And so we're back to that again, right? People saying that I made it up. But what did the French couple do? That's what matters. It's now been a full week since I made that announcement. And here is the official response issued by the Élysée Palace.
Crickets. Boom. You can see why people buy into this shit, but it's just retarded. It's like done, right? It's not working. I mean, you've gone into fucking crazy land. This is some of the Alex Jones stuff where he'd rant and rave and he pulled out a piece of paper and say, here it is, I got the facts right here and all this stuff. And then, it just never goes anywhere. It's like a fucking snake eating its own tail. Anyway, sorry, this is Candace. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is Monday, December 1st, 2025. A couple of things about that. The early favorite for the next year, usually I don't talk about it till I've made a decision, but one of the things in the running is 2026, the year of the shekels. Although I think that was more this year. I don't think there could be any more shekeling going on in 2026 than 2025. So I'm not like I like it, like I like the ring of it, but like this was the year of the chaos, and I couldn't have known about the shekel thing back then. So I mean, I could have by psychic abilities, but that's not what this is about. Also, I just realized that the whispers of the brighter world prophecy about a big event happening at February of 2026 is now just a couple months away. It seems possible, but unlikely at this point. But who the hell knows? And I'll be talking about that a lot more at the end of this month. So this will be the final month of a very chaotic year, a year of the chaos, and it could have been a year of the shekels. Lots of other things it could have been, but And so this is where we're at right now. So I talked about Pete Hegseth yesterday, and this is the question was asked to him.
A little bit about the strikes and the controversy around Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
I don't know anything about it. He said he did not say that, and I believe him.
Okay, so he said the strikes that were happening, you were the shooting of these people who were, on these boats after the strikes happened, that he'd give a kill order. And Trump said, I don't know anything about it. So that's what he always says. Everything he says, this is the kind of leader he is, right? This is, either he's a shitty leader, he doesn't know anything that's going on, or he's selling out people like Pete Hegseth. Well, I don't know anything about it, but he says he didn't do anything, and I believe him. So that's not any kind of, he's just saying, he told me he didn't have anything to do with it. So if he ends up fucking having something to do with it, it's not my fault. Fuck that guy, right? So he throws all of his people under the bus potentially. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that. Why don't you talk to that guy? Or he told me he's not doing that, so I gotta believe him. I believe him. I don't know. I think he's trustworthy. I believe him. And so it's total plausible he's the worst leader. Not only is he doesn't know anything, but he's throwing his underlings under the bus already before something even happens. He does it all the fucking time. Absolute piece of shit, this guy. I don't know anything about that. Hey, that guy, he told me he didn't do it. I don't know. Fuck that guy. I don't know. He didn't do it. He didn't do it. He did. If he did it, it's his fault. It's not on me. Don't ask me about that shit. Doesn't have anything to do with me. Right? Anyways, that's the kind of leader he is. Like, if you're a Trumper, he tells you every single day, not only is he doesn't know anything that's going on, not only is he not on top of anything that's important. I mean, sometimes it's really important things. You say, I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about it. I don't know. I didn't see it on Fox News. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Doesn't listen to his briefings. Doesn't know what's going on in terms of, he's not. He gets bored. He admitted getting bored, right, about all that stuff. And then, then he throws somebody else on the bus. If this happens to be true, what you're saying, it's on that guy over there. That guy's responsible. So that's your leader right there. That's the fucking president. Your commander in chief. Okay. Checking in on Candace Owens' Twitter thing. I bet she puts up a video today, which I'm not looking forward to. You gave me, this is Phil at Checkmark Phil, whatever his name is. You gave me more than just a platform to speak. You gave the 34 men murdered that day a voice that otherwise they wouldn't have. That was a gift for me, to thank you for being a warrior, not just for the USS Liberty, but for all Americans. Keep fighting. Keep telling the truth. You have me unending gratitude and respect. Thank you, friend. And then we are reaching a new level of Zionist tears. Do famous people even like you? So let's see what this guy's saying here. These are these pieces of shit over there at that Valuetainment.
Disgusting thing. Forget about what she said about Israel and Jews and BLM and liberals. This is friendship stuff.
Now forget about all that stuff, because that's not what matters, right? Who gives a shit about that stuff?
This is friendship stuff. The most valuable currency you have are the relationships you have, your friends.
Yeah, that's not the most valuable currency you have. I mean, I already talked about time. I think I talk about that in the future. But yeah, or I might have already talked about. Who knows? This video is so screwy. I don't even know. But yeah, it's not time, and then there's lots of other more valuable currencies than your friends, right? Having community, family, things like that. Sure, that's a currency, but it's when you put it in terms of a currency, in this sense, then it's something you're monetizing, right? You're monetizing your relationship with your friends. You're monetizing your relationship with Charlie Kirk because you want to get somewhere. You're monetizing your relationship with all these people and agencies so that you can move yourself forward, and that's scummy.
In my opinion, she's burned every bridge she's ever been associated with. Whether that's Turning Point USA, whether that's the Daily Wire, whether that's PragerU, Charlie Kirk.
She didn't burn Charlie Kirk. I mean, that's disingenuous. Like, that's just being a piece of shit, right? The TPUSK thing, like, they have imploded and everybody sees it. Like, you're not going to win that fucking argument. Like, TPUSK is fucking dead. The PragerU, they are a, Israeli base. So, like, this is all about criticizing Israel then, right? Like, that's what this guy's saying. When you criticize Israel, you burned all your bridges. Because Charlie Kirk is the one who turned on her. He didn't support her for doing the right thing. And he ended up wanting to bring her back to Turning Point USA, which he said in a fucking Turning Point USK, and that acknowledged by Andrew Colvin as a real exchange, where he said, I want to bring Candace back, right? Not that I'm defending Candace, but, like, this is just goofy.
Steven Crowder. I don't know what's going on.
You mean the bedazzled Steven Crowder who dresses up like women all the time? And they had that weird fight with his wife that she captured on a doorbell cam. It's kind of hilarious if you see it. He's like being a total little bitch, that guy. And then, she's talking about basically all Republicans who are actually closeted gay men, right?
Not even in this room, but it's not like we're loving what she's doing these days. I'm asking you a serious question. Who are her friends at this point?
Well,
To
I
me,
do
she's
think she
very
has friends.
lonely.
No, I think she's very close with Tucker. I do think she has a group
How many
of
more
friends.
can you name, though? Other than Tucker,
yeah.
Genuine question. I'm not trying to throw her under the bus. Who's Candace's friends? Who are her allies? Can we name a name? Anyone?
Oh,
Anyone?
she's got more than you would believe.
Name a name.
No, she's got a lot of them.
I'm sure that there's
She does.
Twitter army out there.
Yeah,
but what famous names advocates are saying, I'm with
You need to have famous people. Like, that's the whole thing. All the famous people, like she's saying, that's actually the worst thing you can say. Because if you're in this kind of truther stuff, it's a problem with even the truthers that people want famous people. Like, you want validation of famous people. Like, people in the truth community. You want famous people to say and believe what you believe, which is fucking really stupid. It's retarded. It's really stupid, right? It's stupid. Let's go to the Trump thing here. Let's play this out. I'll do the Trump meme.
Candace. Tucker, maybe? Who else?
No.
I can't name one.
I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Maybe not the people that you're naming earlier.
I'm just saying a name other than Tucker.
Guys,
Give me a name.
I am just trying to be
Vinny,
very,
give me a name.
what's the word? I'm trying to be very,
Diplomatic?
not diplomatic,
Logical. She's trying to be logical here. Let's be trying to be logical here on Valuetainment. All right, let's roll the Trump stupid meme.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? And you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person.
So, I was referring to, so this is what I was talking about yesterday. These are all things about haters, except for the medal of the Purple Heart. I was referring to the Turning Point faith pastors that were trending for doing sermons about me over the last week. Not every pastor in the world. I know a lot of pastors, and I am on a weekly basis listening to many sermons from well-known pastors. No, not the only one I've ever heard bringing up either Tucker or Candace for the pulpit is J.D. Greer, and I do not recommend his church. It's delusional to suggest that pastors are talking about her in their sermons. Megan Basham, who I don't know who that is. You know, this is just fucking goofy. You know, I talk about this all the time. This is why you don't have like haters or enemies. You know, like you look at everything coming from God, right? Because you're defined by your shitty relationships, like who you get into a shit fight with, right? You know, because as much as you have positive relationships and, you know, loving relationships and whatever, when you get in one of these like hate fights where you're just, you know, in this thing where you're just seething and you're going to bed angry and you're thinking about somebody and you're, you know, wishing bad things at them and they're talking shit to each other and you're just, you know, everybody's got into that stuff and, you know, divorces, it happens or whatever. It just is all consuming. Like, it's just the worst. There's more passion in that things than anything else. And it erodes all your positive relationships. And eventually you become like this, it's like, you know, you're seething with hate all the time and you just become this hateful person, you know, based in your, you know, pulls out the hate that's within you. And you got to just not go down that road, you know, where you're just talking about haters and, you know, either you become a victim all the time and look at these people trying to get me and I'm being victimized and all that shit. You know, it's just a trap you don't want to find yourself in. And Candace is totally in that trap. Okay. So let's go into this thing with Venezuela a little bit. Because, you know, there's a war going on there that we're creating because there's a fucking shit ton of oil there. And we'll get back to the Pete Hegseth thing here in a second.
New tonight, the Trump administration is increasing pressure on Venezuela and its leader, Nicolas Maduro. President Trump saying on social media airlines should consider the airspace over the country closed in its entirety. Trump this week designated...
Okay, so let's read the whole tweet here. To all airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers. This is how you reach the drug dealers and human traffickers. Please consider the airspace over and surrounding Venezuela to be closed. It's entirely, thank you for your attention in this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And so I think the excuse they're using here is drug trafficking, coming all the way from Venezuela, which is, you know, it's a southern, I mean, you have a lot of countries where there's an immigration problem. And Venezuela has a lot more money and resources than many of these countries, Guatemala and Mexico and things like this. And, you know, he's targeting Venezuela because of the oil, right? They want the oil. They want to have a connection with the oil. They want to have a government that's, you know, allow American oil companies in here. You know, this Trump going for the black gold. And so, you know, this is bad. Like, I've talked about this before. But most of the time, this happens without much, you know, they do this as secretly as possible. You know, there's this guy who wrote this book about, you know, he was a CIA hitman. And he talked about how they would go in. And if they had, you know, they would buy the leadership. Right? So they would just bribe the leader. They would dump a lot of money in the leader's lap. And especially countries like this, you know, third world countries, underdeveloped countries that had resources, and they'd first buy the leader. If the leader didn't cooperate, they would try to do a smear campaign. You know, they would do things to try to undermine the leader's credibility. They'd back another, you know, a rebellion or whatever it is, another politician. And if that didn't work, they'd bring in the jackals, which was assassins, you know, hitmen. And if that didn't work, they would do military action. And so to make some bullshit excuse about immigration and drugs and Venezuelan gangs coming to America and whatever. You know, he's been talking about Venezuela for a while. He's got a hard on for them. Why not, you know? I mean, if you're talking about evil people like that guy said, Max Blumenthal, why not go after Netanyahu, who's a war criminal, piece of shit, you know, and then not any number of people. So it's obviously oil is the motivation here. And whatever else they got, you know, they have other precious metals and things. It's a resource-rich country, and so they want the, you know, maybe it's lithium. You know, there's all these things. We have a shortage of these, you know, components for computers and, you know, batteries and whatever it might be. And so I'm just assuming it's lithium. I don't know. You know, I know, like, I've had no interest in looking into this, but it's a big story now. So they said they have natural resources, and I'm assuming lithium's one of them or whatever it is, but there's stuff in there that we need. You have these places around volcanoes where there's all these, these minerals and things that are there. And so, well, there's precious shit there. There's something in there they want, the oil definitely and other things. And so it's a total dick move, and if it's bullshit to go in there and create a war, right, with this country.
Trump this week designated Maduro and his allies as members of a foreign terrorist organization and also suggested that land strikes could be imminent. CNN contributor Stefano Pozzebon is joining us now from Caracas. Stefano, how is the Venezuelan government reacting to this post today?
So this is, not putting America first. This is getting involved in a war that has nothing to do with America, just bullshit stuff. Maybe they'll do some false flag things. Remember those Venezuelan gangs, whatever happened to that bullshit, right? I mean, and then the thing with Pete Hegseth, right? So let's go to that. They're covering that on Morning Joe. Like the CNN and MS Now are both littered with these videos about Venezuela and Pete Hegseth. Like, that's the big story this Monday morning. Venezuela has significant potential for lithium reserves due to its geographical proximity to the lithium triangle, but it's not yet a major producer. So I would assume that they know there's a shit ton of lithium. Like, that just came to me. Like, I know lithium's a big thing now because of, they're going with the lithium batteries, all those things that are used in these electric vehicles now and all this other stuff. I mean, many of these, metals that are used as conductors or in computer components are, present in certain places. And there's that mineral, whatever it is, that exists in North Carolina where the flood and the hurricane hit, and they have a bridge that's out. There's a whole thing with that, right? That it's the only place in the world that has this stuff or whatever. You have these places where there's these mineral deposits, and Venezuela is one of them. And this is, it's not you look at it strategically. Like I said, it's close to it's close to America in the sense of the Gulf of Mexico. Right, but if you look at these, you have Mexico and Guatemala, and then there's all these Central America, of course, Panama with the Panama Canal, and there's some of these countries, Guatemala particularly, and then there's Colombia and these other countries that are known for bringing drugs to America, drug cartels, and Venezuela, really wasn't any of those things because it's one of the wealthier countries in that area. If they have like lithium and things like that, that's things that are they have all this rich minerals at the top of the oil and whatever else. These countries are they're places where there's a lot of food can be grown. They have a long growing season, good climate. I mean, look at the ocean front here in Venezuela in terms of beaches and things. And I mean, I've never heard of anybody going on vacation there, but I would assume that it is, one of those better, places to go. In the Caribbean Ocean there, all those islands that are around there. I lived in the Virgin Islands for a while. There's a chain of islands here that go all the way up to the Florida. Like, this used to be a land bridge. When there's an ice age, this is all land, right? There's a continent in here. It's see how this is this shallow water. And a lot of this stuff fills in here. Right, so Florida becomes huge, and all this area here, and there's a continent, and there's the rest of these countries. It's like like a glacier up to about North Carolina, South Carolina, and so these southern states are cold now, Florida, and you have to go down towards the equator where there's a strip of land that has that's not covered by glaciers, and all this all the ocean freezes into ice. And then it withdraws this, the ocean levels go down significantly. There's an ice age there's a small one every 12,000 years and then a larger one. And we're due for an ice age too with all the, there's all these ancient ruins here of underwater cities and places. And then, other places in the world where Atlantis was. And then the ice melts and this land mass goes underwater. Florida is a very shallow area around Florida. And, Gulf of Mexico, you can these sandbars, and so there's all those things. But anyways, Trump has a hard on for Venezuela, like he's talking about all the time, and we know that there's reasons for that because there's why not any of these other countries in that region? Why go after that specific country for something that these other countries are involved in, right? So drug trafficking and the rest of it, which is something the U.S. has used drug trafficking as a way to keep control of the population. I mean, the government, the CIA has run drugs into America. And, my brother was in Vietnam when they were guarding the poppy fields and things like that. And then the opioids now, the legalized opioids and the opioid crisis from pharmaceuticals. And so, it's all bullshit. Like they're not anti-drugs. They're not anti-Americans using drugs and alcohol. I mean, they're very prevalent in our society, but they make them illegal so they can, control it and make the prices higher and also, arrest people when they feel like it, right? So there's all that. Okay, so this is problematic here.
Doesn't think this constitutes war, attacking these boats, and says if it doesn't constitute war, it's murder. But even if you believe, and he says, even for argument's sake, if you believe that this constitutes war, well, then it's a war crime. That lays it out pretty starkly, General. I'm curious, based on everything you've seen over the weekend, including Pete Hegseth bragging about this on Friday and Saturday, Republican congressmen or senators bragging about it on Sunday. I'm curious your thoughts, and please clear this up for us.
You just walked through about 6 or 7 different people who are highly respected, Joe, in terms of their legal dynamics. I'm not a lawyer, but I will tell you that if a senior official urged someone else, a military person, to conduct such a strike, then we are morally bound to ask additional questions that any democracy should be asking. Were these unlawful orders? It appears they were. Were they issued or were they implied? We don't know that. That's part of an investigation. Did the service member feel pressured to act unlawfully? We don't know that either. Were there the attempts to suppress the supporting? Was additional guidance provided? These aren't political questions, Joe. These are constitutional ones, legal ones, and moral injury ones, because soldiers or anyone...
This is from the real Donald Trump. Donald Trump has posted these. The real Donald Trump has posted this.
Who is asked to pull a trigger in this kind of situation not only does it illegally based on what they've been taught, but that also creates, and the reason we have these rules is to avoid moral injury for those individuals. And doing any of this, along with some of the other things that we have watched happen, the Secretary of Defense disparaging legal oversight, sidelining JAG officers, eliminating the press to report on such actions, or treat accountability for such actions as the enemy. They do more than risk unlawful actions. They weaken the moral foundation that makes our military so great. Because a military that abandons abiding by these kinds of laws, Geneva Conventions, law of land warfare, they cease to be American. And a military that fails to investigate serious allegations of this kind of conflicts invites tragedy at the strategic, the moral.
This is from the Secretary of War. They're sharing this stuff on X, right? They're bombing these planes. They're sitting them with missiles, and these people haven't been convicted of anything. They're saying they're narco-terrorists, but that's, first of all, they're not believable. Like nothing Trump does or Pete Hegseth does is believable. They've lost all credibility. Not that Joe Biden was credible, but he was sort of bound by the standard politician, whatever, the boundaries and the checks and balances that politicians submit to, right? There's lines that Biden wouldn't cross that Trump is just crossing. even Biden's team. Like, they were censoring people. They were fucking doing bad shit. And, Obama, he did a lot of bad war shit. They gave him 2 Nobel Peace Prizes, and he was a fucking warmonger, and he was doing all that shit. And, post, the stuff with Libya and these other countries. But, he had the backing of the UN, so it was more, it was still evil. They all still were supporting Israel. Trump went above and beyond with Israel. He'd let Israel get away with things that other presidents wouldn't have. They're just Trump is the worst, right? He doesn't care about any of these kind of traditional, superficial, fake, acting, posing type of rules and regulations, and so they're bragging about this, right? So they're just bombing boats that they can offer evidence. Remember, we went to war because. With Iraq, because Colin Powell walked out there with a bunch of bullshit images and said it was weapons of mass destruction. It turned out it wasn't any. Like, there was stuff that Cheney just made up. And we invaded Iraq totally illegally. We pressured all these countries to go in. They had nothing to do with 9/11. They had no weapons of mass destruction. And we just took down that country, killed well over 1 million civilians and these things. And, it was done with the authority of the UN, and when they went through proper channels. Trump's just like fucking blowing up fucking boats. Like, he's just, which is, it's funny but not funny. And these could be fishermen. We don't fucking know, right? Like, they might be running drugs, but, and if they're running drugs, are they bringing them to the U.S., right? Like, these boats are heading into fucking the Gulf of Mexico, going to go into the U.S., they're saying. Like, they don't even know. They're just leaving Venezuela. It's a total act of war, and if you're saying it is an act of war, it's murder. But here's the thing that's coming up here that I want to show you.
In the human domain. Hey, I got to tell you, Joe, it was interesting to me watching just a few months ago the Secretary of Defense talking to the generals and admirals and their senior enlisted advisors at Quantico, that he brought up this very issue and said, hey, we're no longer going to pay attention to these very strict rules of engagement, and we've got to eliminate this kind of stuff from the Department of Defense. Well, we're seeing it now, and it's an ugly, ugly scene. And truthfully, I hope Congress gets on this very quickly and provides oversight to determine what happens. The one other point I'd make is last night I saw the president say, oh, Pete told me it was okay, that he didn't conduct a second strike. Well, that's easily disprovable, because if there were any weapons used against these boats, they were filmed. They have to be filmed because it's a laser paint of the ship. We had the first part of the film. Was there a second part where we can see exactly what happened? There's pretty clear evidence in all this.
So there's evidence. So, the evidence will be, and then does Pete Hegseth try to throw some of the lesser ranked military personnel saying, I didn't order them, they went off on their own, even though he's, saying he doesn't like these rules. And now we have the Department of War, like, that's a problematic. Like I said in the beginning of the video, there's a Whispers of the Brighter World prophecy from my meditation thing that's, channeled message saying that there's going to be a big event in February. Like, it said 25 years, and the message is given on the 28th of February. So it could be any time. Like, it could be 2025, 2026. The equinoxes are coming up. The winter solstice is coming up, on the 21st of December. Like, that's a big day, for these guys. Anyways, or just in general, things happen, whatever. But, Trump is losing his shit, which we saw yesterday with this. I showed you the memes. He's losing his shit, and he's he's spiraling. He's getting senile. He's taking no accountability. I don't know anything about anything and this kind of stuff. And he's got a bunch of clowns running the government, and they're acting lawlessly. And, we'll see what kind of accountability there's here. This is a war crime, no question about it. But Netanyahu, the whole thing that happened in Gaza Strip was a war crime. Like, it's a fucking massive war crime. And so we'll see what happens. But eventually there'll be accountability, and, Americans aren't going to like it when it happens. Like, this is when, the chickens come home to roost type of thing. Okay, so this is Claire Danes tells Nicole Wallace about marching for no kings. So that's why I clicked on it. It's a 41-minute thing. We're not going to watch 41. We're not going to watch very much of it. But I started at the beginning, and I'm like, all right. While I was searching for the No Kings, and I'm listening to this, I'm like, holy shit.
It's just so extreme the way our lives are organized, because of our business. Then I have these swathes of time where I am only available, which is great, and I just try to bank the hours.
Yeah, you binge your kids.
I binge.
You binge your kids. Look at this. Watch what she says here. Look at these two fucking ghouls. Look at these fucking ghouls here. You binge your kids. So like, they're away for 8 months of the year doing their bullshit. Hollywood fucking shitty content that she's making, and her doing this newscast and now her fucking bullshit podcast that they're trying to make. They're trying to be podcasters, right? It shows you they know they're getting their asses handed to them. They got these bullshit podcasts. This is called The Best People with Nicole Wallace. But then she says this.
That's right.
Yeah, me too.
Just looking at photos of them on my phone,
It's the worst. It's like mother porn.
Yeah, totally.
It's like mother porn. Look at this fucking ghoulish witch right here, right? It's like mother porn. What the fuck you talking about? She's saying looking at your kids is like mother porn because you're a shitty, neglectful mom. You're not, your kids are off doing whatever they're doing or whatever because kids aren't raised anymore by their families, right? I mean, that's like, that's happened in America. And the kids don't even want any part of their fucking parents. So it's like, I guess what we're having. Like, there just should be a crisis. Like, all of us who grew up in the era, and, our parents sucked too. So there's I wasn't, I was happy when I moved away from my parents. And so, like most people are. And I mean, that's a crisis, right? That shouldn't be the case. And there's people like I've seen it where the families, there's enmeshment in the families in India. We'll go back to this mother porn thing. It's pretty bad in different ways where these families, there's just too much family stuff. I can't get this thing to. There we go. Go back a little bit here.
Me too.
Just looking at photos of them on my phone,
It's the worst. It's like mother porn.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
That's the highlight. So that comes somewhere in this video here where she talks about mother porn. And they decided to highlight that at the beginning to hook you in because that's supposed to get you to watch. And so let's get to we'll watch the rest of that because we'll see where that goes. Just because they put it out there. I'll show you the rest of the mother porn thing here because it's, But this is the best people, right? Like, Nicole Wallace has, like, the worst people on. They're not the worst, but, bad people. Not necessarily, like, villains, just, abominations. Like, you look at the people. Like, you go to Walmart, you look around, and you look at the people that are, like, these are the people. Like, these are our people. These are supposed to be the best people. These are the people that are famous and are supposed to be successful. And, and you look at, people at Walmart. I mean, just that more than anything else should tell you what's going on. Like all these things, these events, all this bullshit and all the Charlie Kirk stuff and the Venezuela stuff and the Israel stuff and, all the Trump stuff and the Biden stuff and all the left and the right, all the things that have happened, all the events, all the, criminal stuff, all the bad acting, the, war crimes, all the financial crimes, all the, all the stuff, it's the people. Like, if you look around at the people, you're like, holy shit, like things have gone south, right? People are much worse now. And they're getting worse. These kids all taking antidepressants, growing up and, the decimation of the family and these things. And so it's the people. Like the people are the indicators of whether your society's working, whether your system's working. Are the people getting better or worse? And they're clearly getting worse, right? And we're getting worse. We're worse than we were when we were young, and then generationally it's getting worse, right? Like, everybody, like if you grew up in a time where people were better, and people weren't great when I grew up, but it was nowhere near as bad as this. People just keep on getting worse and worse because the system, that's the system, right? It's, we're all going in the wrong direction.
And, but no, it's I'm just kind of just looking at photos of them on my phone, you know.
It's the
on
worst.
set, but-
It's like mother porn.
Yes, totally, totally.
Mom porn, yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
mom point. Yeah.
I mean, I just in the moments that I
Look at that. Look why like why what's causing this fucking phenomenon? Like this fucking with school like this school for this witch burying her fangs. What's making this happen?
can be with them during those busier periods.
Like talking about how you can't spend time with your kids makes you giggle like that and laugh and talk about being mom porn like fucking. All right, so let's go to the No Kings protest thing here. So the transcript. Look, she's looking serious. You can see here I searched for kings. So when YouTube started put a transcript on their videos. Of course, now AI combs through them, so they've been able to do this for a while. They've been transcribing the videos so their bots can comb through them forever. It's been available. Now that they make the transcript available to anybody, and I found out about it, I've been able to search for the parts that there's a 41-minute video, and and it's not till 38 minutes and 22 seconds that the part that I'm interested in, or at least in terms of the title of the video, is there, right? And I'm not going to watch these hags, like fucking, for that long period of time. And so, it's been a real, I would have just clicked out of this if I saw it was this long, and I would have to listen to the whole video to get to the part I'm going to cover here.
Values, they matter, and
values matter. They do. They matter. Those values matter.
Yes, I go on No Kings marches, and like I want to invite as many people as possible to the work that I'm making.
Yeah.
Everybody is truly welcome and wanted, and the less they know about me,
The No Kings thing. It's just a classic Hollywood pretentious bullshit, right? What do you think the No Kings thing has done? Like, it's done nothing. It's people who already hate Trump marching and annoying everybody else, right?
really, the more access they have to the character that I've been trying to, figure out and share. So,
I mean, I think on the outside, right? Like we want everybody, doing the same thing in the same moment. But I think I've spent a lot of time. I've talked to Joan Baez. I've talked to Sarah Jessica Parker. I mean, and people have
The other marchers, they did No Kings too. They're
really different ways of getting at people. There's like the megaphone that blasts, right? Or for Joan that she, sings like an angel to. And then there's
she sings like an angel through a megaphone.
art that speaks, and then there's the culture, and then there's your platforms. Do you and your husband do you wrestle with it? Do you talk about how public to be at a No Kings march or on voting day?
Well, I don't have any social media.
Yeah,
which,
I gave up Twitter too because I thought it was
I did. I gave up Twitter.
more. I thought it was all bad.
That's a very expensive decision not to have, an Instagram. And my brain was so much healthier when I just disconnected from all of that. When I go to those marches, people are sort of
your brain was healthy then. It made your brain healthier.
They'll say good on you and it doesn't even occur to me like, oh right, okay, and I am that could mean a different thing, I guess, my being here than, I don't know, somebody who isn't on television.
Somebody who doesn't matter, like a fucking muggle. Like the rest of you guys listen to this. It's more important when I go to No Kings because I have so much more effect because everyone goes like, hey, that's Claire Danes. She's at fucking No Kings.
But I'm not thinking in those terms. And if, we're on boards that, that matter to us and, we try to make our contributions in
Jesus fucking Christ, sorry. Holy shit. This is bad. Look at this fucking witch right here. This fucking ghoulish witch. Just so here's her thing right here. Let's go to our podcast. The best people with Nicole Wallace, Claire Danes, Cox Richardson. She got Cox Richardson. The Manosphere. We're talking about the Manosphere. They're scared. Pod saves guys on Trump's arrest threat. No one knows who these guys are. Pitzker. I don't know if he's there, if he's on there. Charlemagne the God. He's one of the best people. Martin Sheehan. Smells of Ego. Scaramucci. Rosie O'Donnell's one of the best people. Joan Baez and her, dictator phobia. And then an Epstein survivor, she's one of the best people, Stacey Abrams, because she's a badass, and she demolishes these cowards with her weird fucking voice. Ken Burns, Phil Rosenthal, John Lovett. John fucking Lovett is one of the,
This is not policy making. This is.
I guess this is this guy talking about John Lovett. So, all right, so this is just, again, they're talking about the manosphere, but the manosphere kicked the shit out of you, and that's why you have a podcast, right? And you can't compete because you suck and your guests suck, and you're part of the problem, right? I just saw a Facebook post. Just ate lunch, went for a walk. It's freezing out, like it's been gray the last 4 or 5 days with some snow. It's early on the year to be like gray. Usually December is a pretty good month, but it's January and February. But anyways, there was a post saying that the FBI is releasing new data. There's a lot of these fake posts. Like I saw these posts where people were saying there was one that the basketball player Kevin Durant is suing Megyn Kelly, and then the same exact language, but it was Michael Jordan, and then Michael Jordan going after somebody. It's all just fake stuff that the stuff that's like you can tell by the headline alone it's not true, right? But this thing said that they've released new information on the Trump assassination. I'm like, is it going to be Venezuela? And is it going to conveniently be that it was somehow Venezuela? So, there's this tweet here. Trump told Venezuela President Maduro that if he didn't leave power willingly, the United States would consider other options, including using force, according to the Wall Street Journal report. So there's that. And then one of my viewers sent me a video of a guy reading RFK Jr.'s text. Remember, RFK Jr., there's this reporter, she's young, like she's, I would say, in her 30s. Her name is Olivia Nunzi, and this is her gay-looking boyfriend named Ryan Lizzie. And they were engaged to be married, and he found these very creepy texts from RFK Jr. And, I knew about this. I covered this when it happened. This was, I don't know when the date of this article is. This was November 22nd, 2025, but, this was way back when. This was when he was running for president. This is before he partnered with Trump. So he's running for president. He's married to a famous woman. There was, New York Post reported that his wife that committed suicide, she somehow came across his diary where he documented 36 affairs he had in like 1 or 2 years while they were married. And that was a contributing factor to her suicide. According to the Post, New York Post hates the guy. So, this woman was a reporter, and somehow she and RFK Jr. became involved. And so this is what he said. Your open mouth awaiting my harvest. This is a poem he wrote to her. Your open mouth awaiting my harvest. Really, bro? Your harvest? I mean to squeeze your cheeks, to force open your mouth. I'll hold your nose as you look up at me to encourage you to swallow. Don't spill a drop. I am a river, you are my canyon. I mean to flow through you. I mean to subdue and tame you, my love. So this was what this guy found on his fiance's phone. And I was just talking about this with my wife. We were joking about it. Like, what if what her responses were? We were coming up with different jokes. You know, like, thanks. New phone, who dis, right? And we came up with a bunch of things. You guys can all go at it in the comment section. But, you know, what her response was to this? Bro. You know, he's 70 years old. And, like, it's just, this used to ruin, this is what I'm talking about, the degradation. When I grew up, this would ruin a candidate. Him, you know, there's a guy named, his name was his name Rice? Or I think his girlfriend was Susan Rice. And he was, whatever his name was. They made a movie about it, like a fictional kind of, you know, a biographical movie about it. But he was running for president, and Susan Rice is somebody else. That's to do with like Bush or something. But this guy was, you know, Gary something. I'll remember his name. Anyways, he had an affair, and he was running, you know, in a political race where, you know, he came from California, and he was doing fairly well. And he had this affair, and it ruined his career. Gary Hart was from California, and her name was Donna Rice. And Walter Mondale was a horrible candidate. I think he lost every state but one. I'm not sure exactly. He got fucking rolled by somebody. The scandal. The Gary Hart scandal refers to a 1987 event that ended his presidential campaign when the media reported on his alleged affair with Donna Rice. The scandal was triggered by Miami Herald staked out Hart's home and reported on Rice visiting him following a New York Times interview where Hart had invited the press to follow him. The incident led to intense media scrutiny and a picture of Rice on a yacht with Hart and his subsequent withdrawal from the presidential election. You know, so this kind of thing killed his presidency, right? There's Donna Rice today. There was this scene when she had the big hair. She does interviews somehow. I bet she's a victim somehow. You know, they came back around with this thing. There was another one that happened more recently with John, whatever his name was. And he was from North Carolina. His wife was dying of cancer, and they kind of ran on that. And you know, I'll remember that guy's name too, or I'll look it up. Well, let's just go to that one. So John Edwards was involved in an extramarital affair with Rielle Hunter while his wife was battling cancer, and ensuing federal hush money trial where he was accused of using $1 million in legal campaign donations to cover it up. The affair and cover-up, like there was videos that somebody had, and one of them where he was performing oral sex on her, and she was like promoting him, like this is early social media, and she was taking video, and she was campaigning with him. Rielle Hunter, she was, you know, here she is. Real hippie-looking motherfucker, real liberal. Weird. Like, she was, like, you know, yogic. And this is his wife, Elizabeth, you know, sort of traditional Southern woman. And she died, like, they separated. She died of breast cancer that year. And he talked about his wife quite a bit in her battles with breast cancer. He pulled out the fucking cancer card all the time on the campaign trail. And, you know, this ruined him, right? He was done after this. And so Kennedy, like, it shows you how much, this is 2006, it's not that long ago. It shows you how much everything's been degraded since then, right? New juicy details about Edward, fucking thing, right? So, there they are, the mistress. And she had a baby, that he got her pregnant. She had his baby. But anyways, Kennedy can post this poem and become secretary of, and they're going after the guy. The Democrats are, the big pharma is. You know, he's not doing shit anyway. He's a fucking he bowed down and he licked the taint of that Rabbi Shmuley, which was just despicable. But it shows you what you can live through now and what you can get away with in terms of scandals, right? Okay, so this happened. Today's Tuesday, December 2nd. We got a shit ton of snow out there. I was going to put some videos of that out, but it's going to be long enough as it is. This video won't be going up till Wednesday morning. I'm sure I'll be adding things throughout the day as this, this scandal implodes. And so, this is typical Trump, right? He says, I don't know anything about it. I don't know. You got to ask that guy, Pete Hegseth. And then there's, a lack of accountability from Trump. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. That's not my thing. That's his. That's Hegseth. I don't know. Go. I trust him. But that's that guy, right? So he's, there's that part. And then they try to protect Hegseth. And they did it by this. Well, let's watch this unfold here.
By showing you what Pete Hegseth said the morning after the strike on his former place of employment, the Fox and Friends morning program on Fox News.
That was definitely not artificial intelligence. I watched it live. We knew exactly who was in that boat. We knew exactly what they were doing, and we knew exactly who they represented. And that was Tren de Aragua, a narco-terrorist organization designated by the United States, trying to poison our country with illicit drugs.
Okay, so, Pete Hegseth is saying that he was watching it live and bragging about it. Then he posted the videos on his Twitter, and these videos came out, and they were bragging about this. He went on various bragging tours, other things that he did. We know that they changed the rules of engagement. They changed the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Because everyone wants to make it look like we're just trying to defend ourselves. Like, not everyone. That's it's America's. Same thing with Israeli Defense Force. They want to look at. No one wants to be seen as the aggressor. Oh, no, we're just defending ourselves, right? They attacked us, right? Some false flag thing and, all that kind of stuff. You guys probably aware of that stuff. So that was the first piece, right? He's saying all this kind of stuff because, he's bragging about it. He's happy and he thinks that there's going to be no issue. And so if he saw it, he would have had a problem with anything that happened. He's watching it live. So if there's a second strike on civilians in the water or people in the water, narco-terrorists, again, they can say whatever it is about anybody. Oh, you guys are narco. They can call you a narco-terrorist. They can call me a narco-terrorist, right? Like they can just make up words, make labels that isn't true, and then justify any kind of, legal, rules of engagement, right? You can't just fucking kill people, especially, when we live in a country where it's supposed to be due process. In foreign waters, when you're going after that country because they have oil and shit, right? So that's the first piece. We now know, which we already knew, that he was watching. So if somebody disobeyed his orders that took liberties, that person would have already been held accountable because they're now going to throw somebody under the bus, right? They're trying to, and it's not landing.
Pete Hegseth confirming a central piece of the Washington Post reporting, quote, I watched it live. We knew who they were. We knew what they represented, says who they are, designated by the United States. So we've established him in the room. Post has reported it. 11 people were on the call. 2 people with direct knowledge speak to the Post. Pete Hegseth on live TV corroborates it. So I found this amazing. This is the White House spokeswoman at her briefing today.
This is the fake Christian Barbie truther who was, she was Erika Kirk before there was an Erika Kirk. So when you're playing some trivia game in the future, if such things exist, and there's a question about who is, maybe you're on Jeopardy or something, and it says, who is Admiral Bradley? Who is Admiral Bradley? The answer will be the guy that Pete Hegseth and Trump tried to throw under the bus and take responsibility for their war crimes, right?
To be clear, does the administration deny that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true, Abe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes.
To clarify, Admiral Bradley was the one who gave that order for a second strike.
And he was well within his authority to do so.
Okay, so they're trying to say that we can do this stuff, which, you know, the Republicans are like not into this, and there's military people. So the thing about all these kind of things, you know, the military does horrific things, right? But there is this kind of false sense of honor, and there's rules of engagement and laws and chain of command and discipline and hierarchies and, you know, all these things. And these rules of engagement keep it from getting really shitty. Like, it gets pretty shitty anyway, especially when you have these weapons of mass destruction and civilian casualties. And there are a lot of shit that goes down in war, you know, like invading troops, raping and pillaging and, you know, all this stuff. And just, you know, people haven't had, Americans, we have no idea what it's like to live in a country being invaded. And, you know, and all the ways that, and or what happens when you take down a government. Like, if America goes in and takes down a government and then tries to put in a puppet government, that's not going to work because the people are, you know, they're not going to endorse that shit. And so you end up having this gang rule, thug rule. I mean, look at what happened to Iran and some of these other countries, Afghanistan now, and, you know, Iraq and all these countries that are just a mess, you know, post regime change. And so you destabilize the country, even if the government's the worst government and the person's the worst leader. You can't take out a leader without destabilizing and making it worse than it was under a shitty leader. So, but there's these, you know, there's a code of conduct. And this also speaks to the stuff with RFK Jr. Like, somebody sent me that. And it seems like these stories aren't related, the Candace Owens stuff and the RFK Jr. stuff and this thing with Pete Hegseth and Trump, but they all totally show a level of degradation. Because when I was a kid, you know, like I said, I was talking about all these politicians who lost their careers because they had an affair. But then there was Bill Clinton, and he had a really seedy affair with an 18-year-old girl. It was borderline sexually abusive. I mean, think about Jeffrey Epstein, but this girl was barely legal. She was an 18-year-old intern, and it was weird things that involved a cigar and, you know, a blue dress and all this kind of stuff, DNA evidence, and then, you know, and him lying to Congress and getting impeached and somehow surviving that. And then he didn't lose his job, and he should have. Like, up until that point, if a president had an affair, he'd lose his job. And Bill Clinton survived it. And it was showed you if you just don't quit. You know, it goes to that first Matrix movie, that Smith character, and he was killed by Neo at the end of the movie. Spoiler alert. In the second movie, he's describing why. He said, I knew what I was supposed to do, which was to die. He was a computer program, right? He was, you know, so he was just software. I knew I was supposed to die, but I just didn't. I refused to do what I was supposed to do. You know, he violated the Matrix, right? You know, the whole thing. So, you know, that's what happened with the Clinton thing. And then all of a sudden you have a President Trump who has an affair with a prostitute, with a porn star, and then pays her off and does illegal campaign shit, gets away with all of it, fires his fixer, who goes to jail, and then writes an anti-Trump book and, you know, reveals all these secrets, and nobody gives a shit, right? Because, like, we've reached a level of degradation where there's no honor. You know, this happened in the Mahabharata, where they had all these rules of engagement, and they had all these code of conduct and honor and, you know, all that kind of shit that these guys, you know, you don't do certain things. Like, and then they were just like, everything was just like, fuck it. There was no rules by the end of the thing, right? It's just everything imploded. It was the end of the age of Dharma, of duty, where people would, you know, would rather die than besmirch the name of their family and all that shit, and, you know, dishonor the name of their family. And so you see this playing out now where there's just so total degradation with Trump. And, you know, there's no accountability because these guys are not like men, right? So, you know, Pete Hegseth wasn't really a real military guy, you know, and this stuff like, you ever see that movie Dragonheart where the guy is training the whoever it is, one of the knights is training the future king, and he teaches him, you know, his code of conduct, and he thinks he's getting through to this kid, and this kid's like, yeah, I took all your military stuff, I took all your, you know, the stuff that was useful, but all that honor and all that code of conduct, fuck you, that's just bullshit. And the guy's like kind of heartbroken, right? It's a whole thing. He turns into a, you know, demonic king. And that's what's happened. You know, Pete Hegseth, he was just a National Guard guy. He wasn't like a real military man. And, you know, he wasn't qualified for this job. He's a drunk and a fucking guy with poor character. He's a punk. And he's, you know, an ass, like the fake, you know, fucking tough guy, whatever he is. And he's at least got something. Trump's got nothing. Trump has no personal self-discipline. You know, he has no, you know, no personal code of conduct, no, you know, like some kind of, I mean, no character qualities, no moral integrity, no moral compass, right? He doesn't have any of that kind of stuff. And he's always been a guy who he'd bring in a team of lawyers, and he said, what can we get away with? And if we can't get away with it, how can I have patsies, my underlings, take responsibility for my illegal behavior? So that's what Trump is doing here. So he just has plausible deniability. He has no curiosity. He doesn't listen to his own briefings. He doesn't know what's going on because he doesn't want to. You know, he just tells them, do this, get this done. And he doesn't care whether there's going to be issues. And then he says, well, that's on Pete Hegseth. And Pete Hegseth says, all right, I'll make sure that I'll blame it on the admiral because there's no, you know, it's just what they can get away with, right? There's no going down with the ship. There's no, you know, the buck stops with me, and there's no personal accountability or presidential accountability. And Trump is, you know, doing whatever he's doing. And, you know, the idea for them is what Trump is saying and what these people are saying to themselves or whatever this mantra is, that Trump is saving the country. He's making America great again, and he's going to have to break some rules to do it. And he has to be protected. Let's protect the king among, you know, whatever has to happen. We all have to fall on our own swords. But they don't want to do that because they're worthless piece of shit themselves. So they just, you know, pass it down the line. And yeah, we're totally within our rights to do what we did. But if it isn't, fuck this guy, Admiral Bradley. And the Republicans aren't buying this shit. Like, they've already had enough. Many of them already being bullied by him. And, you know, this whole thing is like imploding. Like, it just, you know, it doesn't seem like it's like a huge deal given all the other stuff that Trump's done. And, you know, this is where the politicians, you know, Republicans and Democrats are asking, you know, demanding accountability. And Trump isn't going to give it to them. Like, if Pete Hegseth gets fired, he should have been fired when he did that Signal Gate, right? I mean, the guy's a complete disaster. But, you know, it didn't happen because fucking he's, you know, they don't give a shit. Like, there's no discipline, there's no accountability. They're just everything smoke and mirrors because he's a grifter, right? You know, it's more important to keep the idea that the grift is real, you know, that there is no grift, than start showing that, hey, we don't know what the fuck we're doing, right? You know, like we're breaking laws, we're doing, like, once the illusion collapses, then, you know, they're completely fucked.
Did Admiral Bradley order that second strike because there were still survivors after the initial strike?
Again, as I read for you, Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law. He directed the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat of narco-terrorists to the United States was completely eliminated.
General Hertling, do you know Admiral Bradley?
I do not, Claire, but I do know his position in the military right now. I don't know him personally, but it kind of appears like he just got thrown under the bus. And this kind of information is critical. I did not hear that press conference today, but it's critical because if there is, and there should be, an inquiry by the United States Congress, this is going to turn into a very interesting inquiry, not only from what the Secretary of Defense says, but what from the SEAL team leader says, the individuals who reportedly gave the information to the Washington Post, the lawyers, the Southcom commander, and anybody else that was involved. And if it was an open line and there were no written orders, but it was a verbal order by anyone, it will more than likely be recorded just like the strike was recorded. And by the way, this probably, in my view, I don't know this for certain, but I'm going to use a little conjecture here. If they were firing something from an island in the Caribbean, this was not a drone strike. This was more than likely some type of artillery piece or a rocket. It was laser guided. That's what it appeared to look like from the strike to me. If it's laser guided, you have to keep the pilot with the laser on the target until the round hits. So there are going to be films of exactly what happened. So as Carolyn Levitt tries to explain in a non-military way exactly what happened, it appears like she's only digging a deeper hole.
All right, so, so this was that part. And then this morning, this was last night, so this is Monday night. And then Tuesday morning, this video popped up.
Really, it's very interesting, Britt Hume, proving once again that the administration, like in the Epstein files, finds themselves in a position where they're not fighting lefties, right? They're not going up against the most progressive voices in America, people they can call communists or Marxists. It is Fox News contributors. It is Andy McCarthy saying, no, this new excuse of pointing at somebody else. No, this is inconsistent with what you've said before. Or Britt Hume saying this is what pointing the finger at somebody else looks like, when of course this all comes down to Pete Hegseth. We're going to be showing clips of him bragging time and time again about getting rid of those politically correct rules of engagement. We're there to kill. And
yeah, so let's see if they have that here. Let me go. But the Republicans have never been psyched about Trump, right? And here's the press conference thing here about her throwing the guy under the bus. See if we get to Pete Hegseth somewhere down here. Here's the strike. Well, they're not showing the. Well, here's some of the thing here.
Sought to highlight the role of the military commander in the attack, posting on social media last night, quote, "Admiral Bradley is an American hero, a true professional, and has my 100% support. I stand by him and the combat decisions he has made."
Yeah, his decisions, not mine.
You authorized it.
On the September 2nd mission and all others since. Britt Hume,
There's not like he's saying there's no chain of command. That guy just fucking did his own thing. But, I stand by him. I think he made the right decision. It's not, if somebody else thinks if there's some kind of accountability, well, it's his decision, but I stand by him.
Fox News summarized that post by writing, quote, "How to point the finger at someone while pretending to support him."
Another Fox News contributor we mentioned, conservative commentator Andrew McCarthy, has another piece for the National Review on this story. This one titled, "New Explanation. Hegseth did not order that all boat operators be killed." McCarthy writes in part, "If it is true that he did not give the order, how odd was it that Hegseth's first two responsive posts over the weekend were exactly what you would expect from someone who did give such an order. First, the above unflinching declaration of intention to execute lethal strikes, and second, the cruder, 'We have only just begun to kill narco-terrorists.' Even if one accepts the administration's dubious premise that our forces are in an armed conflict against non-state actors, the cartels, whose operatives are enemy combatants, the second September 2nd strike against the shipwrecked survivors of the first strike cannot be justified. I continue to believe," writes McCarthy, "to the contrary, that none of the strikes can be authorized. The controversial second strike on September 2nd is singular only in that its lawlessness is more blatant."
Well, Secretary Hegseth may be pointing the finger at Admiral Bradley, but as the Washington Post reports, it was Hegseth who ordered the strike on the survivors of the initial U.S. attack, saying, quote, "Kill them all." A day later, he went on Fox News, where he said this about the military operation.
I can tell you that was definitely not artificial intelligence. I watched it live. We knew exactly who was in that boat.
Yeah, we
We
saw
knew
this
exactly
already.
what they were doing, and we knew exactly who they represented.
Win, not to defend. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters.
David Ignatius.
Yeah, so he's been saying that shit. We saw it. He even said it at TPUSK, and he's just a punk, and and he works for like even a bigger punk, right? So or more little punk, whatever you want to characterize it. And we'll see if there's any accountability. I doubt there will be. I don't think anybody gets fired. There might be some bogus hearings. I mean, this is, Trump is cut off. Like he makes fun of Joe Biden and his auto pen, but he says he never knows anything. Oh, I don't know about that. And half the time he's learning from things from the reporters. He doesn't listen to his briefings. He makes proclamations in a way that's, he gives orders to these underlings in a way where he's completely not accountable and often doesn't know anything about it. And we've seen that, when I showed that clip of him and Dianne Feinstein when she's having a gulagasm because he's supporting gun control in a way that, it's head scratching because he's supposed to be a Republican. And then, of course, he had to reverse himself. And then it was supporting asset forfeiture, which is something that happened to him, when he was when they were going through Mar-a-Lago, which he didn't love, right? But he thought asset forfeiture was great, where cops could just take your shit, your money. They can find money on you, and like they found some guy who made 25 grand in Vegas and just lifted his money. They should say it's evidence or whatever, and they just steal shit from you. And he doesn't know anything. Like he doesn't know what Republican policies are. He doesn't know what he doesn't know the stuff of what people believe about Jeffrey Epstein. He's not, he just knows enough to pander to the crowd. Like he's good at reading the crowd and understanding things he has to say, but he doesn't understand the emotions and the reason for it. He doesn't understand that there's anti-elitism, specifically in his most ardent followers who are after the elite, and he's an elite, and and he tries to pretend that he isn't, but he's totally, even more so than the elitist. He's more of a elitist than Jeffrey Epstein was, and these other people, and all the things that he does, and the promises he made, like putting America first, and not create another war in Venezuela. Is now all that shit's out the window. He's just like, fuck you guys, and so this lack of accountability, this lack of honor, and these things, and we'll see if any of these things, there's the news story, but is there any method of holding him accountable? Is there any way to, other than, the next election cycle? But these scandals should result in somebody fucking being fired, and Trump just won't fucking do it, right? Like he's just keeping up the grift. Like they were talking about firing Kash Patel, and that's apparently Miranda Devine wrote a piece. I just saw that Megyn Kelly was trying to rip apart Miranda Devine's piece. She was the one who busted the story with the laptop from Hunter Biden on the New York Post, and everybody loved her for that. But now she's going after Kash Patel, and the New York Post has never been a fan of Trump, Rupert Murdoch, and so everything's falling to pieces. And they don't like Kennedy for even before the Trump stuff. They've hated that guy. And you see it's all imploding. It's moral degradation. It's a lack of any kind of, moral compass in these things I've already said. And so as it unfolds and it just, as it gets exposed, and then you have the Candace Owens stuff and those people, and you have Marjorie Taylor Greene quitting. So, everything's imploding around Trump, and until they just basically, almost like actually, it's almost like a guy you gotta grab out of the White House and hang him, like that. He's just going to keep up his bullshit and lies, and the people around him will do it because they're all fucking, they're all going to jail if this thing goes, when when there's any kind of accountability, all of them got fucking, they all got their hands dirty. So I'll see what happens else today on this story. Is it a developing story, and then I'll, there's a lot of stuff here. I don't want to make this video too long, but it'll be interesting to see if anything happens. I said the thing about Jeffrey Epstein, nothing will happen. They'll never release the files. It just, there's no accountability. There's zero. And there's a problem because then accountability has to come from the divine. Okay, so if there's any new news, I'll put it after this on the, or I'll cover it in the next video about the Pete Hegseth debacle. There was a post, I'll show you in a second here, it's down here, that just popped up on my phone, revisiting Candace. Is this, and I want to talk about TPUSK in a second here. Is this true? Turning Point removed the refund policy section of their sites. I've been trying for 2 months, sent out 5 inquiries with no luck. They aren't issuing refunds. According to this person, whataboutism? And this is the thing here. I received information last night that put the final pieces together for me. I can now say with full confidence that I believe Charlie Kirk was betrayed by the leadership of TPUSK and some of the very people who eulogized him on stage. Yes, I will be naming names and providing evidence of my claims, and I'm making a personal plea to every well-meaning person who donated to the godforsaken organization request a refund. You were lied to, and leadership fucking knew. Okay, so that's a good segue because there's a video that came up here. Let me go find it. I saw it on my phone, so I got to find it on my whatever this thing's called, my Apple laptop. So I'm going to do this in reverse here. There's 126 comments to a video that has 5,000 views, 5,800 views, right? And what I should say here is that, you have views of people who are supporting your stuff, right? You have views of people who are digging your content. And then you have people just tune in to hate, right? Now, this happened with Corey J. Feldman, who I got to get back to. Oh, I wanted to cover Don Lemons today. I'll do that maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see how long this video is. I want to, maybe we'll end with a little Don Lemons thing. I haven't been able to mock him. I just thought about him the other day. I'm like, oh, shit, I haven't mocked Don Lemons in a while. I wonder what he has to say about this whole debacle. But you have people that tune in just to hate on you, right? Like some channels, some places. And there's people who pander to those people because they are, in a way, customers. And they help you get more views and things like that. Sometimes people, bait their haters and say things to their haters. They get people to, because they can't get views any other way. There's channels that, like with Corey Feldman, he started his own social media platform, and everybody who bought into it, like 80% of them were people that disliked him, right? And so, you can't call these real views. If you're getting 5,800 views here, which is nothing, and this is how your comment section is. Ladies and gentlemen, the great, amazing, courageous Mike McCoy, LOL. Look at those, they look like two snakes. Their snakes are the biggest chumps in the world. We know a traitor when we see one or two in the same room. Charlie Kirk was a unique, special, and had the ability to always win a debate. No, he didn't. That's silly. And they didn't sit well with other people who saw him as a threat. Fly high, Charlie. We miss you, brother. That's not a positive comment to these clowns. Stay off his accounts, please, for the love of God. This video is literally the worst spot for sponsoring. Charlie was right about everything, R.I.P. Liars. My husband and I have 5 boys. We started early in 20s. Whatever that is. I'm not. I guess that's a person who likes what they're saying. You are disgusting for betraying Charlie. This channel should not have content until we know the truth. Show some respect. So, sorry, y'all. Get off of Charlie's podcast. Why don't you want to talk about foreign nations paying $1.1 million for assassination? That's a Candace Owens thing. You know, they're already coming in here. We're trying this year, 32,000 U.S. biweekly. This video reminds me of my life in 2023. You have really inspired me in so many ways. Comment section says it all. Come clean. Clicked on the title hoping you would say tell the truth, but we now know that's not possible for you guys. The title of the video is one of the lessons that Charlie taught us. And so Mikey is everything, haha. He's definitely the kid always beaten up at school. You know, because these guys are very effeminate. So they pitched this thing for Patriot Mobile, you know, because if you're a patriot, you got to have this phone service, right? These guys are patriots like you.
Charlie wrote this about a month before less than a month before he was assassinated. He said, "This is the social compact breaking down." And he's reacting to a graph of estimated percentage of 30-year-olds who are both married and homeowners. So if you go back to, it looks like...
Mass deportation, stop the H-1B scam, dramatically reduce legal immigration, cut the chain of migration and the visa lottery, build 10 million new homes for Americans, crush the college cartel. Now, none of these things are going to happen, right? We'll go forward because he's going to read these things. None of these things are going to happen. And so what people are interested in is Charlie's wanting to audit the TPUSK finances, which they're not doing. This is, you know, something that was exposed by Candace J. Owens, the princess, and that's what people want to hear. And the exchange that Candace was given by one of these people that, you know, ratted out these scumbags that have, you know, murdered Charlie or whatever. And he said they want to cut ties with Israel. Of course, he was saying these things publicly as well, and that he had changed his opinion, and they're not dealing with any of that stuff, right? So, you know, this is why they have no viewers, because no one gives a shit about this, something that's not going to happen. Trump's imploding right now. I mean, he's hemorrhaging support. These guys are all shackled up, like everyone knows it. They've taken their shekels. And so, you know, bringing Mikey McCoy on, like fucking, you're just saying, hey, don't, you know, just fuck you to your audience, right? Like nobody wants to see Mikey McCoy up there. You should hide that fucking guy. I mean, it's just like, you know, and they're not giving refunds.
Crush the college cartel. And by the way, not to work backwards from Charlie's list, but we've been talking about his book, The College Scam, which you should all buy and check it out because it's more relevant than ever.
More relevant than ever.
Is have the lack of, I would just say, real training that is going on at the college level, training Americans for actual jobs, is really, really depressing. And they get
who's he typing to? Why is he typing right now?
Get you into all this debt. You are more worried about paying off your college.
Why is he typing? You're sitting there in a panel, and this guy's talking, and he's fucking typing.
Loans, then buying a house, getting a mortgage, things like that. You delay these really formational life experiences like having kids, getting married. Mikey, you got married young, and we love that. You know, it's not.
And then, of course, you have your boyfriends.
For everybody, sometimes you don't find the right person. I have a lot of sympathy for people that don't get married young because they can't find the right person. But we should be, I think, ratcheting up that expectation. Start your life.
Yeah.
Start your life.
Yeah.
If Charlie's death proves anything, it's like, don't waste time. That's bitter.
Don't waste time. Go have a bunch of kids and get shot. Go ahead to marry the first hoe that you see, and have a bunch of kids and get shot in the neck. Because you know, that's if his life means anything.
When you look back at your life and you look, I wasted time, and we want to set our kids up so that they don't have to waste time. They can get started right away.
Well, personally, you know, maybe this is a story that'll help that situation. My wife and I have discussed this many times. We waited too long. We were dating in college. We were dating at 19 years old. We didn't get married until I was 27. I think she was 26. And then we didn't have our first kid until we were in our 30s.
Yeah. And you know, and then, of course, my boyfriends.
Like we bought into the idea of, okay, you got to buy a house, you got to do X, Y, Z in your career. Before
like, how do they get? Why don't they have like one fucking guy that doesn't appear to be closetedly gay, right? Like, why can't they have one fucking guy that comes out with like fucking, you know, like a biker guy, like somebody just that has fucking testosterone. Like,
ready to do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And what I
Yeah,
found
yeah.
out having kids now is I used to think I was productive. I think the more kids you have, the more productive you actually become. And so if you can get that started earlier, there's a tangible benefit to that. And I am a testament to.
So is Mikey.
I wish I would have just.
Oh, the opposite. Yeah.
No, I wish we would have started sooner. Like,
Yeah.
had we
Yeah.
gotten married 3 years ago.
Exactly. Just start sooner. Come out 19, 20, start popping out little shitty fucking rugrats in case you get shot in the neck.
Had kids probably 2 years earlier than I did.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge difference, but totally.
Well, probably like 7 or 8.
Yeah, in fact, those fucking kids I got, they're fucking, I wonder what kind of great kids I would have had other than the shitty ones I got now if they started earlier.
We should have gotten married sooner. We should have had kids sooner. And honestly, career-wise, who knows where I would have been?
Okay, that's like fucking horrible advice. Because I've said this before, that we're living shorter lives than we should. Like when you trace back the teachings in the Vedas, the Mahabharata, and they talk about people who lived thousands of years, right? That there were people here that lived thousands of lives, right? People, thousands of years and, hundreds of years, like long lives. And, the first Blade Runner movie, I think the clones only lived 4 or 5 years. These clones who were physically superior. They made a second movie about this, but they only lived 4 or 5 years because they were, they were slaves, right? And they wanted to make them not have longevity. And so the evidence in our lives is there's a period of time between your 18 and your 40s where you have to have had a successful career, right? Where you should be having kids, and there is a marriage, a relationship with somebody else. That, like, let's say you get married, you just meet somebody, and within a year you get married, and you barely know that person, you haven't had time together, and you already got like a fucking rugrat running around, like you got a little kid running around, and kids are great in their way, but they're also very, it's difficult. It's they're completely helpless. And modern day parenting is completely fucked on top of it, making the kids the center of existence. We don't live natural lives. And they want both, almost all, relationships are both couples working. So you both have a career. You're learning to be in a marriage, and you're also learning to be parents all at the same time, right? And you don't have a family support system. And it's like it just doesn't exist, and you haven't been trained for any of it. Like, where did you get training? If your parents are divorced, and they sucked at, they have a failed marriage, and they weren't good parents, and, the job landscape, the career landscape is changing. Even in terms of all the knowledge you get at college, or whatever it is, that these guys are saying don't go to college. It doesn't really train you for these things. It doesn't train you to balance a checkbook. It doesn't train you for the practical application of your life, cooking food. You don't know anything about nutrition. You don't know about, you have to go above and beyond to find out. If you follow the official story, you're eating shitty foods with, carcinogens and, cancer causing and heart disease causing foods. And you're just, you're depending on a system that's hurting you. And, like we know, if you have to be a truther on top of it and figure all that shit out. And you're doing that in a 20 to 25 year, 30 year time frame. We were doing all of it at once. And where's the time to connect to God and be spiritual? When you think, all right, I'll wait to do that when I'm old. People don't even think about doing that at all because it's not part of our culture. But you have to have a spiritual life. That's the most important thing, and it helps you navigate all the rest of it. But think if you lived 1,000 years and you had a time to, be married before you had kids, and you had time to travel, you had time to learn about life, you had a time to go on spiritual journeys, and you had time to have children, you had time to have a career, and you could do this multiple times, and you have all this time. Time is a commodity, like time is a currency. And so, getting started younger on all these things doesn't help. it doesn't. You don't have enough time either way, right? And when you have lots of kids, like these Christians say that you should, I had this situation, which I just addressed in a, comment. When you have lots of kids, it's overwhelming, right? Like if you have more than 2 kids, I mean, just 2 kids or 1 kid is tough, but like you have more than that, and then you're trying to do all these other things, and then the stress level kicks in, and all the health issues follow, and so this is what happens, right? And it's because our society's fucked, and because we're not living the kind of, if we live 300 years even, if you had 3 lifetimes to do all these things, then you could have a career and you could get educated and you could have these epiphanies. And, like I said, I'm in my 60s now, and the last 10 years is like the first time I ever felt like I figured out, my particular life. Like I cracked the code, and now I'm just preparing for dying. It's like, the death is on the horizon. I'm just wrapping things up, right? And, and so there's some, like, whatever, some enjoyment left and some spiritual, certainly the spiritual life is still there. But, like you get to the time where I don't want to start new things, and I don't want to, invest in something that's not, in terms of like, this is like the last farm I'll ever build, homestead. I've done a number of those, and, it's just, it's you just don't have the energy for it anymore. So anyways, let's go back to this guy.
Gotten so much more productive since kids.
Well, message received on the kids, guys.
Mikey, this is a not so subtle hint.
It's an intervention. But I will say, Charlie was the big reason why I got married young. He said, when you date with the intention to marry, and then get married young, have more children than you can afford. I am working on it. We're going to get there. And then...
now once I start getting the shekels, any day the shekels are going to kick in for my role in this whole thing with Charlie. And now I'm being sheckled up. All right, so holy fuck, right? Just what an embarrassment. Like, just really bad and fun. TPUS gay. See, just the fact they're rolling this guy out there. They don't like this guy. Like, if you look at the comment section, he doesn't have any fans. I have not seen one comment that, they maybe say they like what they're saying or they like the content or, and they could be shills, whatever. But they're not, oh, wow, you're so great. I'm so glad you're taking over for Charlie, right? So, your audience is, you're trying to have an audience. And they've lost their audience. Like you can see, like I showed you in like my last video, I went back to when Charlie was getting an average of 300,000 plus views. Some of his videos had millions of views. And these guys, when Charlie first died, they had, some bigger videos, not as big as Charlie's videos. But, this post Charlie dying. And now they've lost their audience, right? And the people are coming there. They fucking really don't like this fucking guy, right? And this guy, what is his appeal? Like, so why do you keep on forcing him on your fucking audience that, literally is calling him out by name? Like, they don't say anything about this guy. Nobody knows who this guy is. He's new. They're not going to like him either, but he's, And then this guy and his gay buddy, Blake Neff, and they're butt buddy and, whatever they are, two beta males sharing a testicle. These guys with low testosterone, low, very effeminate guys, and they don't like him, right? And they don't, they're not. You're not Charlie, to these people, and you're not going to replace him. So, that's bad enough. Like they're telling you suck. They literally say you guys suck. Stop posting content under Charlie's name because this is Charlie Kirk's channel, and these guys have taken over for it. And and they're not accepting his wife either, and her fucking little dabble do you fucking fake tear crying bullshit. But everybody dislikes this guy, and he has been fingered and hammered. Don't roll him out here. Like, as bad as people feel about you guys, and as much as this channel sucks now, then you're going to bring a guy in who's just really hated by the people. Like, everyone knows his name. They're questioning his phone call, calling him courageous and a hero and these things. And his dad, like, Candace has particularly singled this fucking guy out. And a lot of Candace has won this fucking battle. The princess can Owens, can say Owens, like so fucking. And so, I mean, it's just it's just like a big fuck you. This guy's smiling fucking face here is ghoul hole and laughing here, and like everybody hates you. Like everybody watching fucking hates you. There's not one the person on the comment section that's saying good things about Mikey McCoy. Let's go back to the comment section here. So we saw these already. Ladies and gentlemen, the great, amazing, courageous Mikey McCoy, LOL. We know a traitor when we see one or two in the same room. So that's Mikey McCoy. Where's the next Mikey here? I don't see it. Here, we need the amazing Mikey. His call logs. Darn, I also came for the truth in the majestic splendorificus, I don't know, uncanny, magnificent Mikey McCoy, but left after the lies, sorry. Michael McCoy, uncle of Mikey McCoy, brother of Rob McCoy, pilot of Intermountain Health, IMH, buys a medical air transport plane company from Classic Air Medical owned by Phil Lyman, Tyler Robinson's mother. KABOOM. Mikey and Andrew are married to women. What kind of BS fake is this, right? Exactly. TPUS gay. You get it. Hey, look, everyone. It's amazing, horrible, awesome, courageous, one of a kind Mikey McCoy. And so this is the thing where they say it here. So that's the response. Like, do you think he's got any fans? Does that sound like he's got fans? This is from the transcript over here. Do you think Mikey's got fucking fans? What do you think he's got? You think he's got fans? You think that's a lot of fanfare? You think it's a good idea to roll this guy out? You think it's helping your case over there at TPUS gay, right? And so, I mean, it makes no sense other than they have no choice, because this is just like with Trump and Hegseth, pretending that everyone doesn't know what you did, right? This is what this is about. You're pretending that there are people out there that believe what you're saying. And with Trump, maybe there are a few, but here there's... So I just want to say that, I had this thought when I was covering that TPUS gay video, and Mikey McCoy was typing into his laptop, whatever it was, to something to somebody or something, right? And the other guy was talking. The show's going on. Mikey McCoy's on camera, sending an email or talking. Like, the show's an afterthought. Like, whatever he's doing on the computer is the real thing. It's like, and the show is like imaginary. Like, they're laundering money. And the audience and this whole debacle that they're doing has nothing to do with anything. Like, they don't need an audience. They're not making any money off the ads. That's just all, for show. It's a money laundering organization. And the real work is happening to do with that and not this show. Like, the show is just, it's just a pretend thing, which would make a lot of sense. All right, so yesterday I left a bunch of I responded to a bunch of comments last night. I hope this is the audio. And I was going to keep it open and, add some comments to it, which I'm not going to do because this video is already well over 2 hours now. So, anyways, so let me, okay, let's get to that, and then I'll, if there's anything new, I'll just put in my video for Thursday. Okay, so I went to order more microphones about a week or so ago, and it was a whole thing. They don't have them on Amazon anymore. I found them. So today, I got around to ordering them, and it didn't go great. There's issues with the site. But as I'm finally checking out, they wanted fucking donations for their employees at the company that makes the microphone. Like, they wanted a tip, right? Like, the tipping thing has gotten out of hand, right? Where, don't you pay your employees? Like, I'm supposed to be tipping them on top of the retail price of the microphone? Like, I mean, you should, if you're not paying them enough, then you should, what the fuck, right? So there's that. There's one comment I want to get to here. I don't know. I think I've gone through all the comments, so I have to check if there's more. But here, let me pull it up. Okay, so this person writes, The only reason the Christian religion survives is because of miracles granted to the faithful. Faith and prayer is a powerful tool in the difficult and challenging circumstances. There might be a scientific explanation, but people who have experienced or witnessed a miracle to a family member, it's hard to ignore. Okay, so, miracles are not spiritual. When I criticize the Bible and the Christian religion, I don't criticize, but just tell the truth about it. There's a spiritual immaturity there because, miracles is something that if God orders it, then fine, right? Then it comes from God. Because the ability to do miracles, and again, I don't know how many of the stories about Jesus doing miracles is true, but I believe he has the ability. I think it was talked about by one of the masters of Science system that Jesus had the ability to do miracles, but he was doing them against God's will, right? Because when you're a true spiritual person, if you believe in God, you believe in a plan, that everything is happening and God has signed off on everything. There isn't, God has allowed things to happen because of freedom of choice. There's things that, God's given you the ability to choose and do the wrong thing. But in the miracle department, raising Lazarus from the dead, for example, death is a part of life. And everybody wants to avoid it. At least initially. Not everybody, because, people get kind of, especially when you get older, you just get worn out. And, life becomes you don't get up for material things like you used to, right? It just doesn't, as the older you get, the less impressed you are, the less excited you get about things, and the more as your body starts to, give up and your body starts to quit on you, and all these things. I'm experiencing this myself. As you get older, each year, death becomes more palatable. And then there's people who just are in horrific circumstances and living in fear and pain and, all kinds of things. And for those people, death is welcome, right? But for the majority of people, even under some difficult circumstances, they still want to live, right? And, maybe even live forever. And when things are going great and you're happy, it's hard to imagine dying, right? Because you're enjoying your life and you think it's about life enjoyment. And so one of the big things that everyone wants to do is avoid death, even though it's part of the divine system and it's there for a reason. And your physical life is not eternal. Your soul is, right? Your soul incarnates in on many physical planes of existence here, elsewhere, and, experiences these things, and it isn't forever. And so, it's basically freeing your soul to go back to its home. Your soul still can access its home in your body, but not to the extent that, it would if it's not associated with your body that keeps you sort of pinned down here. But anyways, what this viewer is talking about is that people in the Christian tradition, and every tradition, they suffer miseries, not just in Christian tradition, and they pray to God. And sometimes these miseries or some kind of situation happens where they feel like there's a miracle, right? And they've had all these Christian saints who have done miracles, and they're on the lowest level of spiritual evolution, right? Like one of the ways to become a saint in the Catholic Church is you have to perform, I think, 2 miracles. There has to be a couple of miracles associated with what you're doing, and that is not spiritual at all, right? What you're doing is changing the material world using spiritual energy or spiritual powers, and that's just not cool. Like, it's not like Jesus was showing off. Like, some of the things he did, he wasn't, sanctioned. That's my understanding of it. And so you don't want people running to you and saying, change this or change that. There was a situation with the second masters of system, Babaji's son committing suicide. He had 2 sons that died. I think they both committed suicide. At least one did. And he had the ability to change his son's destiny by cleaning some scars. He didn't even need to do a miracle. He could just clean the tendency away for the person, for his son committing suicide. And he saw it and was going to do it, and he kept on forgetting about it. Like, he would get distracted and, for years, and he would remind himself to do it, and then something would happen. And finally his son committed suicide, and he realized that his spiritual master, who was no longer in physical form, had been preventing him from changing his son's destiny. And so he's like, WTF, why'd you do that? He said, if you are allowed to change your son's destiny, then you'll have to do it for everybody. Like, every person, like, if you save your son from suicide, what about all your, people who do this meditation for years? What are you going to say to them when their children commit suicide, right? Like, or whatever these things are. So, like, you have to bear the things that everyone else is going to bear, and bear it with the idea that, be grateful for miseries because they're coming from God. And that's one of the mature teachings, that, you don't manipulate reality. You don't manipulate the material world just because you have the power to do so, especially when it's God's will. You're going against God's will, which is, that's why there's spiritual deprivation, because of the focus on miracles that shouldn't be done. Because, miracles and manipulating the material world can be done at a very low level of spiritual development. But it's a misuse of a power, and there's punishment you get for that. Like, there's consequences for misusing God's power, a spiritual power that you're given. The only way that you use a spiritual power is if God orders it, like it's something that God wants. It's not something that you do out of your own emotional desire, and you don't do any of these types of things, right? There's a little girl who, some parent came and their child was dying, and Babaji gave some of his life force to save the child. Like, he gave up some of his prana. Everyone has some life force. And he was chastised by these souls because he had all this work to do, and he wasn't supposed to do that, right? He had all this spiritual work to do. And he had given up some of his life. And, his divine master was like, no, this is not okay. And then they were asking some saint to give up some of his life force in Sri Lanka. And that was a whole thing. But, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you have to be able to accept God's will. And that's, difficult when things are just shitty, things that everyone's going to have things that they're going to want changed. Everyone's going to suffer emotional pain, physical pain, death, all these things, the death of loved ones. And it's just a part of life, and it helps you grow spiritually, and it's just there for you. And, if God changes them, you can change things. If it's, in the Sizemore system, it would be if, somehow it would affect your spiritual growth. Something can be removed, something, some kind of destiny, some scars, things can be lessened if it can help you on your spiritual journey. And, death could be pushed back or prevented if you have the opportunity to grow a little bit more spiritually, evolve spiritually. So those things can be, tampered with a little bit if there's some divine purpose and it's backed by God in every possible way. A lot of prayers are based in, hey, God, you got it wrong. Why are you doing this to me? And people die with that attitude, and it affects them in future existence. And, there's just a level of spiritual immaturity here in the Western world and other places. Okay, just ate dinner. I want to finish these comments while they're fresh in my mind here. I just saw a few video clips, which you've already seen them, where Trump is throwing some admiral under the bus. He's just the worst piece of shit, which I'm sure I already said, so I'm not going to say it again here. I haven't made the video clips yet, but, it's coming, and you'll see it before you hear this, so no sense in repeating it. Somebody said, I'll be sure, this is Pocket of the Future now has a membership option. I'm sure to contribute what you deserve and have earned by not flushing next time and getting it to you. So you're going to take your shit and put it in a bag and mail it to me? Is that what you're saying? That's not how the membership program works. And it kind of makes you a gross, disgusting, worthless person. So, like, that's what you're trying to say you're going to do? Like, bro, like, it's okay, I don't need it. And you think that you're, that you're somehow so valuable. You're such an impressive person that would be valuable to somebody. No thanks. Why don't you just, like, move on and go somewhere else? This is in all capital letters. You spout nonsense. Go do some research on the Bible. It is more real than this world is. Wake up before it's too late, and you'll find yourself in hell with all the evil of this world. Trust me, hell is the worst place. It wasn't meant for humans only, the fallen. It wasn't meant for humans only. He spelled meant wrong. It's a real brainiac. It wasn't meant for humans only. He spelled meant, M-E-N-T. For humans only, the fallen. But stay on your rejection of Jesus and you will find yourself there. 3 frowny faces. three frowny face emojis. So here's the problem with this, right? The person says, well, I think there's another, let me see this other comment here. It says, you should stay away from trying to educate people about Jesus. You don't know as much as you think you do. Like just dumb fucking comments. What does that even mean, right? First explain, again, I don't debate people because I don't want to listen to them. Because I don't even care about what I say. Like, this might have value to you. I don't listen to my own videos. I'm not impressed by whatever, this stuff is. I mean, when I read it myself in terms of the Sajmark literature, or when when something comes through me from God, when some information flows through me and I have some kind of a, epiphany, which isn't me. It isn't me having an epiphany like I've done something. It's like God downloading some information into my system or having it pass through. Yeah, that's kind of neat in the moment when it happens and, these things. But I'm not big about knowing things as other people are because, even information is something that flows through you and you pick it up when you need it. It's useful when you need it. Think about all the things you're not thinking about, right? Like how to hammer in a nail. Are you thinking about how to hammer in a nail or how to use a screwdriver or righty-tighty, lefty-loosely or lefty-loosey? That's a saying people, I was told by one of my friends when you know which way to turn a bolt to tighten it or loosen it or any number of your passwords or anything, right? You have all this information in your system and you pull out the information when you need it, right? It's when you need the information, it's there. And so, it's a wonderful thing. And when you connect to God, there's information that can flow to you even better than the internet. There's the Ethernet and all these things. But none of these people can articulate back my position because they can't think about it the way I have said it. They can't acknowledge my position, and not in a, not that I want them to or want to read back what I've said. But if they were able to sort of come back on the fact that there's a weird obsession with foreskins in the Old Testament, and burnt offerings and animal sacrifice and circumcision and all these weird things that they were talking about that has nothing to do with the Word of God, and that there's the historical damage that's been done by these 3 religions, all these religions, but these ones specifically that are related to the Old Testament and the Bible, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. They've wreaked havoc and abused people and, did all kinds of damage in the name of their bullshit, a God that's a demon or whatever that's presented in the Old Testament. And even the things that are going on now with dropping bombs of this sense of superiority, right? White superiority, Christian superiority, whatever it is, that there's, these attitudes. And so, it's right there for you to honestly, accept some of the facts that you don't want to accept and then think about some of the things and what they mean. And, this person, going back to this caps locks person here, where they say, do some research on the Bible. You mean read it? I have read passages here. I'm reading them. What do you mean do some research on? Research on what the people that control your puny little brain tell you about it, right? The indoctrination that you've gotten. You can just read the Bible. You can read it. Have you read the Bible? Don't tell me how great the Bible is if you haven't read it. Do you understand the Bible? I know these people don't understand the Bible. They don't understand what I'm saying here, and I'm speaking in modern day English. I mean, they don't understand my point of view. How are they going to understand that fucking weird-ass, old-school, ancient, English translated from ancient texts about a bunch of weird shit that nobody understands, customs that people don't understand, and lifestyle that was prevalent 2,000 years ago, even 4,000, 5,000 years ago. So anyways, you get the idea. All right, so maybe I'll leave some more comments tomorrow. I'll wrap this up tomorrow one way or another. I just have a full day off tomorrow, and then I'll put this video up Wednesday morning, so we'll see what happens. But just so people want to comment about this in the future, if you can explain, and people have tried to explain in ways which they fail, the obsession with circumcision. At least you're trying. Like those people, they got mocked too, but they're not getting mocked for being complete idiots who don't understand what I'm talking about. They made a case for circumcision being important because sand, that God wanted everyone circumcised in the desert because there was sand, and sand could get in there, so, so it's important. But, it doesn't make it so that you would kill somebody, that God would order Moses, his faithful servant, to die because Moses refused to circumcise his son in a timely fashion. And it doesn't explain all these other weird things that these guys do, all these people. And their weird obsession with foreskins and circumcision and a whole bunch of other shit, right? And there's no explanation for it. It's not certainly the word of God. It's weird, and it's not practical. It's not about spirituality. It's about materiality. And a lot of it's written for dumb fucks. And a lot of it's about, telling them to stop worshiping idols when you're presenting a demonic, wrathful God that will punish you and is vengeful and is very narcissistic and all these things. I mean, it's there for anybody to see. And then when you see it, then you realize you've been lied to, and then you have to rethink your whole understanding of God and spirituality and the rest of it. And people don't want to do that. That's fine. You don't have to come here. You can go where the dumb fucks go, right? Don't go where the dumb fucks go, and don't you eat that yellow snow. Right? So, I'll end this thing tomorrow one way or another. Probably maybe a few more comments. We'll see. Okay, like I said, I'm not gonna add any comments here. This is 2 hours and 40 minutes long so far. So, I'm not gonna render the video now. I might add something before this comment stuff if some breaking news happens. Otherwise, everything will be. I'll wait and put it up on my Thursday video. The Thursday video will come up on Thursday afternoon. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pointing for the apocalypse. And the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.